You are about to opt in to Monerotopia, a show for the Monero community where all are welcome to join. From noob to maxi, no matter what bags you hold. Just sit back and relax to the sweet sounds of Monero's latest progress. Or if you're feeling inspired, join us on stage. Remember, the only thing that can stop Monero is a false belief that it can be stopped. And if you want to win the revolution faster, we recommend you remove your XMR from all custodial exchanges immediately. Warning, voting accidents are common around here. Don't forget to properly secure your private keys. Monerotopia starts now.
Well, the Republic has lasted 250 years. Hopefully, we'll soon end up in Monerotopia.
Exactly. that was my tweet this morning as well. Imagine the day our great grandkids are celebrating Monero's 250th.
Heck yeah!
Great. Yeah. Feels pretty inevitable at this point.
Yeah, I would agree.
Right. Obviously, we shouldn't sit on our laurels. We need to assume the worst. Maybe we didn't completely cross the chasm yet, but it feels like we did. If not, we're on the precipice. So,
well, the Monero community doesn't sit on its laurels. The Monero community is always pushing forward.
I know. I just keep saying it though, because that's my only fear.
Oh, right? Absolutely. I can understand that.
The code is good enough. The devs are improving things. People are using it. But this thing dies if, the growth stops, adoption stops. It feels like it's inevitable that more and more people will start to use it because more and more people are going to need a tool for digital cash. But we have competition out there too. Competition is a good thing. Obviously, that's keeping us going as well. It's keeping us improving faster. But there is competition out there, right?
Yeah, nothing wrong with a little competition.
Right now, Monero is clearly in the lead in many ways. Arguably, could do better in some ways. But yeah, happy 4th of July to America. Maybe one day, or I shouldn't say one day, they will be celebrating Monero's 250th. I can only imagine what the world's going to be like that. Oh my god, Monero will be so vital at that point.
Your wallet will be a hardware wallet embedded in your brain. So you'll just have to think, like you'll just look at a person and their Monero thing will pop up and you'll just think, I want to transfer 0.1 Monero to them, and it'll just be done.
Encrypted message sent for brainwaves. I don't know how we can encrypt those brainwaves in the future so they can't read our minds.
Good question.
Right? It's all over at that point.
Tinfoil hats.
Yeah, I was going to say
really well built tinfoil hats. Is that what we're relying on?
We all live in Faraday cages.
kind of like those balaclavas or whatever that you use to keep in cold climates, except it's made of tinfoil.
Hey, it looks like Tony can hop on. Doug.
Oh, okay. Great.
Oh, cool. So we'll get a news show today. Awesome.
I got to send him the link, so I'll send him the links during Bawdy's price report. Yeah, so no guests today. We weren't able to arrange to have a guest. If anybody wants to be the guest, you can jump up on stage if you think you qualify.
What qualifications must one possess to be the guest?
Honestly, you really just have to be, interested in Monero, working on something Monero or digital cash related or privacy tech related, or you just want to give us your hot take on something related to the Monero ecosystem, and just don't be a douchebag. Come on here, state your ideas, your opinions. Just be respectful to the platform and to others. I'd say those are the basic qualifications. Right? Am I missing anything?
No, I don't think so. I think that about covers it.
Yeah, so this is we try to be as permissionless as possible here on Monerotopia. It's worked out quite well. We've had a lot of kind of breaking news moments here on this show where people come up, they talk about new ideas, new things they're working on. So, you know, with that, we get some riffraff that comes through. But hey, it's like Monero, right? It's like Monero itself. You gotta take the good with the bad. It's part of
and it's worth what little bad you do get.
Yeah, for sure. I think over time, actually, we've filtered out the bad, because the culture here is strong. So everybody kind of turns against those that are here just to disrupt the flow of things. So yeah, if you want to jump on, please do. We'll put the link in the chat, the StreamYard link, and then everybody can jump on for viewers on stage. Let's see if anybody wants to jump on that. In general, if you ever want to be a special guest, maybe not today, but in the future, email us Monerotopia@protonmail.com. Monerotopia@protonmail.com. You can email us there for anything Monerotopia show related, Monero conference related, XMR Bazaar related. I've had people reach out recently that want to help out with XMR Bazaar. You hit me there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, obviously we're always trying to improve things over there. So I have somebody actually was on this show. He had said a comment like, "Hey, how do I get involved in XMR Bazaar? I want to intern. I'm a dev. I'm learning things. I want to, put my skills into action." And he actually did reach out. So we'll see what that turns into.
Oh, nice. That's awesome.
Yeah.
More devs are always a good thing. More eyes are looking at the code.
Yeah, we obviously, that's one of the things, right? We got to get it. We got to get all the code published on GitHub, whatever. Create an environment where people can contribute to it in kind of a more open source manner. It's always been on the to-do list. But Anarchio, the guy that runs it, I mean, he's great. He's very, very, very principled in his own way. Especially when it comes to privacy. I have no idea who the guy is, which is fine. He's completely anon. But yeah, I don't know. He's been. I wouldn't want to say he's not against open sourcing it. He's never said he won't. He said he will. But he's kind of been dragging his feet a little bit. I don't know what his concerns are. I think he just doesn't want bad actors creating what he sees as a rip-off version of XMR Bazaar, or maybe using it in nefarious ways. But he's never said no. He's just been dragging his feet. So we'll make that happen.
Well, again, if a bad actor is going to create a knockoff version of XMR Bazaar, the Monero community will reject it.
They'll just reject it. Right. So I don't know. I'm not really sure exactly why he's been dragging his feet on. And also, too, I think he's just not accustomed to it. He's never really developed in that way, which sounds crazy, given what he's achieved with XMR Bazaar. He's always kind of, talking about himself as like a noob and not a good coder, and he kind of criticizing himself all the time. He's obviously very talented, but he does things in his own way.
Just make sure to run XMR Bazaar code through DeepSeek.
Yeah. I mean, luckily with XMR Bazaar, there's not a lot that can be hacked in terms of people being at risk, because at the end of the day, all the transactions are peer-to-peer. So you're relying on the Monero network at that point.
Well, there's still usernames and passwords.
Usernames, passwords, sure, people can something could happen there, but you can't get all your Monero fleeced, right?
Oh yeah, sure, but you can get your reputation destroyed if somebody was to hack your account or whatever and log in and see it. They can destroy your rep.
So obviously we try to use best practices there, and like I said, knock on wood. I mean, you see it, right? He's turned out to be quite impressive in terms of what he's capable of doing. I mean, even the multi-sig that we have going, right? All right, so maybe that's something that could be subject to attack. Luckily, if that were to happen, it'd be like a one-time incident, and then the issues would be noticed. So it's not like a lot of people could get fleeced with that. It'd be something that would be a one-time incident that would then be fixed. Hopefully that doesn't happen. But yeah, there's examples of code that perhaps can be better audited with the latest AI and whatnot. But it's proven to be quite useful and secure. And yeah, he developed that from scratch. It's all in browser. It's all, once again, non-custodial. Quite impressive.
I can't unsubscribe from listing notifications.
You can't unsubscribe. Okay.
Yeah, like for example, if I go to the main website and click on the search button, just nothing else, just click on the search button. What happens is I get I'm somehow subscribed to every listing that comes up, and it's notifying me on SimpleX, and I'm like, I can't unsubscribe from it. It won't let me.
Okay, that's a good glitch to know.
It's
if you could, did you let Aaliyah know?
I believe I did, but I don't know if I can't remember for certain. It's been a couple of weeks ago that I did it for certain.
Yeah, if you don't mind trying to pass it on to her again, or email it to me at the Monerotopia at Proton Mail, and I'll make sure I put it in the chat with them.
Will do, because there's like there's like that little like that little thing that says notify on new listings, and that's a thing that says unsubscribe from listings, and I can't click the unsubscribe. It won't let me. It's not acting like a link.
It's a glitch, I'm sure.
But yeah, I'll let you guys know.
But yeah, XMR Bazaar is
awesome.
I would say, yeah, I'd say it's, I mean, listen, obviously, it's my baby. Like I'm gonna talk positively about it. But I think it's pretty fair to say it's one of the most important things in the Monero ecosystem right now in terms of kind of proving the utility of Monero and actually making Monero useful for its intended purpose.
See, Douglas is biased because it's his baby, but I can say that I like it. Right,
and no other cryptos have been able to create something like this, and this has not, that's not because of me. It's because of the Monero ecosystem, right? We have enough people in Monero that aren't just here to speculate; they're actually interested in the original experiment, the original promise of crypto, which is to live off of it peer-to-peer outside of the state surveillance system. So that culture is extremely strong in Monero, stronger than any other crypto, and it's proven through XMR Bazaar. It's proven through dark markets as well that use Monero. But for legal goods and services, the use case of using digital cash to live off of it peer-to-peer, there is really even no competition, I would say, with XMR Bazaar. I don't know what the other ones are that are out there. If they're out there.
There is one, and I can't think of its name right offhand. I know it's on Monerica, but there is one.
Okay, but also Monero. It's a Monero one.
It's a Monero one, and it's on Monerica.
What is it? I don't even know.
I can't remember its name.
All right,
but you're not supposed to give out names anyway, because that's promoting the competition.
Yeah. I mean, and I doubt it has much use. I mean, I don't know. I doubt it though. But I was even just referring to other cryptos, right? Like, there's no even at this stage a Bitcoin peer-to-peer marketplace. There's been attempts in the past, but I don't think there's a successful one right now. Maybe there is a Lightning Network based one that's
not that I'm aware of. I know of people that just sell their goods directly on Nostr, but for sats or whatever, but that's not a true like actual marketplace.
And then there's Anon Bazaar, where we are adding other cryptos. Obviously, Fira was the first, and it does look like they've launched Xana on it. Okay, it's live. Wow, I just clicked on it now. So we finally went live with Xano, actually. Okay, so there's now Xano on Anon Bazaar, and with that is Freedom Dollar and XDAI. So you can see them all on top, which is very cool. Obviously, Freedom Dollar, it's showing the price of all. Xano is at $9, Firo is at 64 cents, Monero $332, and then Freedom Dollar and XDAI are pegged to the US dollar, so they should always be $1 or very close to it. And this marks the first time we've added a quote-unquote stablecoin. So curious to see how that plays out. Shortwave, I know you're a purist. You're probably not even really interested in Anon Bazaar itself.
No, I'm not.
This idea that there's quote-unquote private stablecoins, I believe you see Monero as essentially a stablecoin, right? It's all relative. Monero is stable. It's everything else that's not.
Exactly. I'm XMR Bazaar. I haven't even visited Anon Bazaar.
Which is why we keep it that way. But yeah, so curious to see though, me personally curious to see if these quote unquote fiat denominated stable coins get used, given their utility of being stable to the dollar. And there is something to be said for that. I totally understand Shortwave's point of view, and I agree with it in theory. But the fact is, many people, especially noobs, they want to get paid. A lot of them want to get paid in something that they're familiar with, where they feel like they can turn around and it will still be worth the same thing it was when they received it, a couple of hours from now, a couple of days from now, a couple of weeks from now. So curious to see if people start making listings and asking to receive payment in these private stablecoins, or if at the end of the day, people just continue to choose Monero. What is this I'm seeing here? Modernized typical Sweden house. It's amazing.
Yes, I saw that listing the other day.
Oh, wow. Look at this. This is beautiful. You guys can go. So what is it? So $41. This is what?
Are you sure?
We have spent some time considering. I guess maybe they put the wrong price. Oh, this is to stay here?
0.142 124 XMR. Yeah, they might have put the wrong.
I don't know what to say. If you want to ask me anything, the best way to use this map, please do not repay in advance. Always ask first. What?
Yeah, that sounds like they're renting it or whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe that's per night or something.
Okay. Yeah, so super cool to see. So I guess that's kind of supposed to be more of an Airbnb type listing. And they have it there. They have it as rent. Okay, it's listed as rent. So that does make sense. So, okay. Awesome. I saw some other houses. I saw houses for sale in Paraguay. Somebody listed one.
There's land for sale in northern Argentina for 62 Monero.
Awesome. I saw somebody make a comment on X, and I think it, is a response to seeing these listings pop up for properties to rent, properties to buy on XMR Bazaar. And they were like, well, I guess, you're going to get, if you use your Monero to go rent a house, you're going to get spied on by the person who's renting it out or something, which is, listen, I mean, those concerns are with anything, right? If you're renting it on Airbnb, if you're renting it on Craigslist, obviously be careful in anything you do. But don't let comments, thoughts like these scare you out of using Monero peer-to-peer would be the one thing I would say.
Yeah, like you've got to check
I see that as an attack on the concept, right? Trying to scare people out of it. So what are we supposed to do then? Not use it?
You've got to check your Airbnbs for hidden cameras and stuff already.
Yeah, exactly. Right? These are problems that Monero doesn't solve. But we can't avoid creating a circular economy because we're scared of interacting with each other because we don't know who the good actors and who the bad actors are. That's really what, one of the primary purposes of XMR Bazaar is. It's to help users determine who can be trusted and who can't. Obviously, work in progress. It's not an easy problem to solve, but we're working on it. And certainly we made a lot of headway, right? With trust and reputation. You can look at people's profiles. You can see if they have a bond or not. You can see what transactions they've entered in the past and check the accounts of those people, see if those accounts are real. And at the end of the day, the good will rise to the top and the bad will be filtered out. They'll be marked as scammers. So trust the process. If you have ideas on how to improve it, let us know. But this idea that nobody should buy a property that's being sold for Monero because it's some kind of like dragnet to get you, I think that's them just winning, right? They're scaring us out of actually doing the thing that's going to be most disruptive, which is using it and living off of each other peer-to-peer. So there's some trust involved, right? This is we're talking about America's 250, and one day Monero will be 250. So we are in these early days, right? We are the founding fathers. So it takes balls. This is the Wild West out here. I'm not saying do stupid things. Use your best efforts to protect yourself, but don't be a scared little bitch who's just gonna sit on the sidelines. Otherwise you're not really participating. And the only way we win is if we start using these things. So unfortunately, there's some risk involved, guys. There's risk when you're in the early days. Person of interest tip 0.001 XMR. Possible news topic. BBC wrote about the Trump coin thing a few days ago. Trump made more than $1 billion from crypto in the first year back in office. Yeah, between Trump coin and World Liberty Financial.
Mm-hmm. There's been all over the news here recently where that's been all over the feeds and stuff where talking about how basically Trump has scammed his voters out of a bunch of money and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, with the Trump coin, it wasn't even, abstract, right? It was
it was basically a blatant rug pull. It's
right?
Like, here, buy our rug pull.
Right. Usually with these politicians, a little more abstract. Like they're all, stealing from you at that level, right? One way or the other. And usually in very grand ways. We're talking millions, billions, right? Money, power. They're taking it out of the system. But Trump did it in literally the most blatant way possible. It was like, here, buy my shitcoin. Everybody bought it. And then him and his friends sold early. Or whoever, I don't even know if it was him or just his friends and family, but they rug pulled it. It's like the oldest crypto trick in the book. And it was despicable, right? I mean, like, what? Really, honestly, like, why do that?
By now you really should know better. Like, if you've been in crypto for any length of time, you've seen this movie before, and you shouldn't repeat it.
But to see him take advantage of his own people.
Oh, that's true.
I mean, you could try to give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe there's others around him that were really kind of pulling the strings. But come on, we've seen Trump. We know who he is, right? The guy is like, everything's got his name on it. That's what he's all about, right? Extracting from his base, from his followers. There's been some good with it, right? He's gone up against the system in some ways. Listen, I'm not going to get into it right now. It's a whole big conversation, but yeah, it was certainly not right what he did. And us being Monero people and watching that, right? It's disgusting, right? You could be out there talking about Monero, talking about how great Monero is, talking about how Monero is going to preserve liberty in the digital. Imagine if we had.
Oh, but see, that would require people to be principled,
right? But is it that hard? It's not that hard. The principled people absolutely exist. A lot of them are here in Monero land. I see them at Monerotopia with my own eyes. I talk to them. The devs that work on this project. There's a lot of real principled people out there. Principled,
yes, but as a general rule, if you're a politician, that means you're not principled.
Yes, I've experienced it myself. Either, I mean, basically, to get there, to get on top, it's almost impossible to do it with principles. You just won't win. You won't make it. And they'll try to, they'll force you to change along the way. So you basically have to either buy into it and be like, all right, I'm going to do this. Some people do it too. Like, oh, I'm going to temporarily make this sacrifice. And then once I get on the other side, I'll bring the principles back into it. But I got to do what I got to do to win. But it never works out that way because the powers are just too strong. The forces are just too strong. It's not. You can't really even blame the people at that point. It's the system. You have a few that have managed to do it. Massey, right?
Massey and Ron Paul.
But look how long, how far were they allowed to get, and how long did they stay? They eventually got rejected from the system.
Yep, so, just like how we reject the system by not using the U.S. dollar or whatever or fiat. They got rejected from the system because they were good. They were good apples in a bad bunch.
Willing to stand up against the lobbyists, the people that are trying to influence you the most, which is very hard to do. When basically is if you go along with them, you're guaranteed to stay in power. It's like a guarantee. It's like it's a very hard choice for these people. Obviously, if you're super principled, it's not. But then you disappear. You're no longer in the limelight. You don't get to be in that position of power. So we all know how it works. XMR Bazaar tipped 0.001 XMR. Can you remove account registrations for making digital goods purchases for things like ebooks? It would remove a lot of friction. So you want to be able to buy like a digital download without even creating an account on XMR Bazaar. I love the idea of removing friction as much as possible. I'm also like a big believer in that, mostly because I'm just like lazy when it comes to dealing with apps and things. I like things to be seamless. I don't like having to create new usernames, but I don't know how practical that is. And that's kind of like an edge case. I don't know if that's worth doing. We can explore it though. I don't know. Shortwave, what do you think?
I think it could be done, although I do wonder how it would work for the seller, because normally when you get a sale, that it helps to improve your reputation as a seller.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The whole thing kind of like breaks down, right? There's a lot that comes with, and then it's so easy. You can create an account completely anonymously. You don't even need an email, just a username. So just go ahead, put a username in there, put a password, and you're done. You're in. Now, I guess it's annoying. You have to remember your username. You have to remember your password. That's where the laziness comes in. That's where the friction comes in. And it's real. I get it, especially in this.
Well, you should be using a password manager. And if you're not in 2026, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, password manager, or just save it somewhere that's behind a password. Because you should also save your PG. You got to also save your PGP key for communications. So it's like with crypto, right? You got to write down your private seed somewhere. So, with great freedom comes great responsibility, right? If you want to be part of a peer-to-peer network using untraceable digital cash, you got to write down your private key for your Monero and not lose it. And you got to have a username and a password and a PGP key. Just save it in a note file somewhere behind a password. If that's the easiest thing for you. It's not. I understand the request, but I don't know. I don't think we're going to do that. Person of interest tipped. Oh, we already got that one. We already got that one. That was already pulled up. Yeah, so no guests today, guys, but we are here celebrating Independence Day in the United States of America, which I do think greatly aligns with what we're doing here in Moneroland, which is building a free speech protocol. We're not building a new nation state. Rather, we're building an unstoppable network that's global, permissionless. Anybody can join and use. And that, if built correctly, will last for as long as humanity does. Because we're always going to need this utility, even in a world of great abundance. If we want humanity or humans to maintain their individuality, they're going to need a means to privately transact information and value to each other, peer-to-peer, without being spied on. Otherwise, we're just a big blob. We're no longer humans. We're just all tracked and traced and controlled. We no longer have individuality at that point. So Monero absolutely will exist for as long as what we consider humanity exists. We're no longer humans at that point. In my opinion, if we're in some world where a tool like Monero isn't here, especially when we're all digital, being tracked and traced. So I personally think it very much aligns with what this holiday is all about. Obviously, it's specifically about the founding of the United States of America, but more so it's about the ideas it was founded upon. And something like Monero perpetuates those ideas in perpetuity for as long as people are willing to run the software, run a node, and use it. All right. So do we have Bawdy?
Yeah, I was gonna say, should we get Bawdy up?
Yeah, we'll get Bawdy. We'll run price. During that time, I will put together some news or send the news to Tony, I guess. I'll see if confirm that Tony is coming on. Is Tony here? Is he backstage? Okay, I guess there's rumor that Tony will be joining us. I'm just trying to think any other housekeeping to bring up. Obviously brought up XMR Bazaar, Anam Bazaar. Xano was added. I'm sure we'll announce that in a different way later this week. Maybe we'll do something with Xano, do spaces or something, or they'll do spaces, get the word out on that. Other big news is I got my Monero car. I think we'll bring that up in the news. I actually got it chipped up. It's registered. It's on the road. So big news for me, but I also think big news for XMR Bazaar and Monero. Like these are the type of transactions that show that this thing really works, right? Today it's a car, tomorrow it's a beautiful sailboat or a wonderful piece of property somewhere in the world. And once you could do things like that, you could basically do anything you want with Monero. So let's go ahead and run the price report and get Bawdy up here. I think he's ready. I don't know. I don't see him.
I'm here. Ready.
Sweet. Okay. Let's run it.
The Monerotopia Price Report segment is sponsored by Exelix, privacy-first multi-chain swap aggregator designed for seamless instant swaps. Exchange XMR instantly with the fully non-custodial, KYC-free experience and secure execution across hundreds of blockchains.
Hello. Good morning.
Good morning, Bawdy. How you doing?
Pretty good.
Awesome. I do see we have a comment here. If we have Monero people in China that can convince manufacturers to accept Monero for some products, could really grow the space. Yeah, of course. I don't think anybody would agree with that notion, but yeah, you got to get them to accept Monero. Sorry, buddy.
Sorry, I'm still here pulling up the comments so I can respond to super XMR chats and YouTube comments.
Yeah, guys, send your XMR chats to xmrchat.com/MoneroTalk. I'll put the link in there. Use it, guys. Use it. That's why.
Yeah, how's that going? Has it been growing in usage, or is it kind of? Maybe
I got to look at the numbers. I mean, it's certainly been growing in the amount of chats that are sent over time. In terms of the amount of users, I don't know what the numbers are, but I see new accounts using it all the time. People reaching out to me, telling me that they're going to use it, and then obviously personally, even just this account, xmrchat.com/MoneroTalk. I think we recently hit over 1,000 chats sent. I think it's way more than that actually, but it's So we've obviously seen a ton of usage here, but yeah, I don't have any good numbers on elsewhere. It works.
Well,
It's easy enough. It, integrates well with StreamYard and whatnot. OBS is a big one. A lot of people use OBS. It's very seamless with OBS. Somebody just hit me up literally yesterday saying, hey, they want to start using XMR chat on OBS. How do I do it? And I was like, there's a little video on XMR chat, shows you exactly how to do it. So yeah, it's getting usage.
Cool. Well, I guess unless there's nothing else, maybe I'll just jump right into price.
Yeah, jump on in. It looks like we're starting to climb back. Curious to hear what you have to say about that. Is like, obviously the biggest question of the year is the bottom in or not.
Yeah.
I still hear people saying like, oh, maybe this is just like another kind of fake out, and we're waiting for bottom in October. I mean, that's just crazy to me that it's like, yeah, well, it's crazy to me too that like the prediction of 4-year cycle that everything is just playing out as predicted. I think there'll be some iteration, right? I think there'll be some iteration, right? Because doesn't the market kind of like price those things in and act faster, right?
Still pretty sad. I think we're all still pretty bummed about how low the blow off, the quote unquote blow off top was this last cycle.
Yeah, that was the worst part of the 4-year cycle, is that we didn't get the good run up before the bear market.
Even last cycle, at least we had something like a 3, almost 4x gain from the previous peak. This one, we didn't even get a 2x peak. Bitcoin didn't even make a 2x from its previous high, and it definitely didn't even make the upper boundary. So it seems like they didn't really. I guess this cycle they didn't run it. They didn't run the system as hard maybe as they could have. Maybe that's also a good thing. Maybe it's time for some of these, because these hype cycles, they lose a lot of people a lot of money. A lot of plebs get totally wrecked on these big cycles.
Yeah, I mean, but just so much harder to keep it going, right? At these levels.
Yeah, we're looking at $4 trillion total market cap. I mean, that's pretty big.
Exactly. And then in terms of Monero, I mean, we did hit what, 800, over 800. So for us, it was a pretty good top. But it literally was like a day. It was like a moment. It was like an hour in a day. Like it stayed, I get like the ultimate tippy top is a quick thing, but it barely stayed above 800, 700 for more than a day. Like more than a day.
I think we were all holding our breath that it was finally happening, but it was just kind of a pump and dump, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I do think it had to had something to do with the hack that happened, just because the way it played out. But
yeah, it's possible. There could have been a combination of factors there. Usually, that's what price is composed of, anyways.
Somebody's asking you if you had to hold one for a year, fart coin or Tari, which would it be? Prudent investor is asking this.
If I had to hold one coin, let me see.
Yeah, fart coin or Tari.
Fart coin or Tari? Man, at this point, I'm gonna have to go with fart. Sorry, Fluffy, bro. I don't know what's wrong with your tokenomics, but damn, it's still going down. At this point, even though I bought like after it had dropped off like a whole bunch. This is still like basically a total loss for me at this point.
I actually just bought some more the other day.
Oh my god, bro, don't do that. Like listen, guys, stop buying Tari. Like, don't. There's no. Like, they're just gonna keep selling on you. Whatever this chart is doing, you're just giving them free money at this point. Like, I don't know. I really couldn't recommend anyone buy Tari ever at this point. Like, charts shouldn't do this. Like, this is horrible. I've almost never seen a chart act this bad before.
Well, listen, I don't want to be like the "I told you so" guy, but what's something that always kind of annoyed me with Tari is that it was really welcomed with open arms in the Monero community, and like everybody seemed to ignore the fact that it had this founder's reward and had all these investors that were getting these large sums of Tari, whereas those were criticisms were never let go with other cryptos, right?
Well, there's 21 billion Tari, and there's just too much supply and not enough demand. That's why.
No, we're just saying like the Monero community seemed to be okay with it because it was Tari and Fluffy Pony. Like with Xano, oh my god, like everybody was talking about like, oh, they have so many coins, this, that. With Tari, was like completely ignored. Like everybody's fine with it, and I never really understood that.
It was kind of like our own little microculture cult of personality, and it's not there's not really a Fluffy Pony cult, but he did leverage his reputation to launch the coin. And I think, a lot of people gave him too much leeway.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, the first bad signs in my mind were when he was like, yeah, we're going to be 100% merge mined. And I was like, great, I can support that. And he's like, well, no, actually 30% merge mined. And then we're like 30% GPU and then some proof of stake and some pre-mine. Like, dude, what? Stop it. Like,
I mean, originally when it was pitched at MoneroKon, it was pitched as a second layer to Monero.
Yeah,
that
that's
the original
marketing BS.
And I always said from day one that I'm just going to buy some Tari, and if it goes to zero, fuck it.
Yeah, that's how you have to look at these things.
But hey, I mean, it could be reborn at some point, right? And everything gets all the bag holders, whatever, get filtered out. All the people that were here just to be part of the scam go away, and maybe there's good tech there and it gets rebuilt, and then there's plenty of time for people to get their Tari for cheap, right? And it just kind of rebuilds. Certainly possible.
Yeah, there'll probably be some bottom and the coin will catch on. Maybe Fluffy can find some partnerships or some exchanges or hand some
I think Fluffy is out, man. I think Fluffy's no longer even part
that's right, of course.
Yeah. He's completely out.
I mean, they're going to have to make, the guys running Tari at this point, like they're probably going to have to make some kind of deal with the devil to get liquidity into the hands of the people that might be interested in pumping the coin, right? The liquidity providers, the market makers, the exchanges, that entire consortium, if you will. And then they're going to need to do that amidst a broader bull market with some with the shitcoin pumpings, whatever. Like, I'm not convinced about when that might actually happen. And it does seem like that whole scene is dying slowly, and it's going to probably continue dying slowly forever. A lot of most coins are just going to disappear or have this they're going to have this kind of Tari chart where they just go off into obscurity forever. Yeah. There'll never be like a final death moment. Probably most of them will still have a server or two running their quote unquote blockchain, but and then a few will survive, right? Like a few of the useful ones will remain.
The other red flag with Tari was they never participated in Monerotopia. They were invited from the first one. I had Monero. I had Tari. I was obviously the first one to ever interview anybody with regards to Tari back in the day when they were way before they launched. When it was just not even a white paper yet, essentially. But they never wanted to participate in Monerotopia. I was like, come on out, let the people talk to you, let them ask the questions. That was also a red flag to me. I don't know what that was.
Yeah, about. Terrible. But you gave them publicity, and they wouldn't come hang out.
Yeah, it's like, well, I don't know. They didn't want to get grilled by the Monero community. I don't know what it was or whatever. But
let's see.
I'll let you take it away. I'm gonna kind of fall in the back here, and we'll see if we get Tony, who will do the news. Otherwise, I'll do it after you. But go ahead.
Cool. Yeah, it looks like we have another XMR chat. Viewer 78 tipped $1 Monero. He said, could you try sending the live stream via PeerTube on watch.monerotalk.live? So I guess that one's pretty much totally for you, Doug.
They mentioned that they would probably try to see if they could do that next week because they've got to learn how to do the things.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good. All right, guys. Well, enough about Tari. Let's go to Monero. Yeah, so Monero's doing ever so slightly better. YouTube. Tari more like tarnish. Yeah, good wordplay there. Very tarnished. If only they could shine that silver or buff it or whatever the hell you do to make silver get untarnished. There's a term for that. All right, so yeah, Monero's chart, we've come back a little bit, just sort of hovering at that 300 level for some period of time. We have now moved about 10% up to the 330 level, so effectively sitting between these two standard deviation levels, the orange bands here. The ones at the bottom, these are longer term, slightly longer term orange bands, and the ones at the top here are slightly shorter term. They're actually the ones that formed from the pullback from our blow off top earlier this year in January. So that's what these orange lines are made of. So they're more like medium term, you know. So these are slightly almost getting towards long term at the bottom. At any rate, this is still a chart that looks to me something that's going to want to push sideways. The fact that we've had some up action here instead of like going further down to try and test anything lower than say like the 290 area, that's a good sign. That's a good sign that Monero is going to try and basically push sideways here for a period of time. You know, whereas if hypothetically, like if price had come down here and we were like flirting with some wicks down to this level, we would say, hey, that's not looking as good. This is now starting to look like something that might just do some ranging, right? So I would probably anticipate Monero to start ranging here in between the 290 and say, I don't know, 400 level. Probably range between that level for some period of time. Could even be months, right? Could definitely be months. Maybe there's some other hack. Maybe there's some new pivot. Maybe there's going to be a new privacy season, something interim. They won't be able to pump Zcash too much without accidentally pumping Monero as well. They're playing this kind of, I guess I shouldn't get too far off on Zcash here, but they're playing this kind of funny game because Monero has the respect of pretty much the entire crypto industry community now, including the maxis that used to hate us. They at least have to give us respect now. So that's great. Which means
let me just quickly chime in on that point, not to throw you off, but we had a meetup here in New York City this week on Tuesday, and what was super bullish about it is it was a Monero meetup in that the focus was Monero, but pretty much everybody that attended it, or at least 3/4 of the people that were there, were Bitcoiners. And they were Bitcoin privacy people that were there to learn about Monero. Set for Privacy did a Monero 101. And it was a room filled with privacy Bitcoiners that are into Monero. So go ahead.
That's great. Yeah, that's really good to hear. And I hear those kinds of stories all the time. Like at MoneroKon, we teamed up with the Bitcoin Film Festival, and pretty much, all of my friends that were maxis, my in real life personal friends that were either maxis or kind of maximal-ish, they all have a certain level of respect for Monero now, and most of them are using it to at least some small degree. And except for like maybe one or two, when I'm doing when we're trading money for, whatever, they'll usually take Monero or send me Monero. So yeah, things have changed. We've actually, hats off, kudos to everybody in the Monero ecosystem that's fought hard for that reputation, because we really had a long uphill battle and a lot of silent or sort of underwater fights with a lot of people across the entire ecosystem, sometimes with bots, sometimes with real people and shills, cultists, sometimes with the corporate cabal, right? Governments, etc. We've really had to fight in the social sphere to gain that respect. So, and I think, the work that we did where we were like, hey, use the coin, right? Like this isn't so you can all get rich quick. This is so that we can have private money. And I think all of that was the long game, but it's finally starting to pay off, pay fruits here. So yeah, they won't be able to really pump Zcash too much. They have to pay lip service to Monero. And I think the Zcash shills realized that their sort of social attacks that we saw unfolding last year on Monero, where they're just like trashing us, actually made them all look worse. A lot of those guys lost a lot of reputation, and they're feeling it. They're feeling it right now. And so I think that any further pumps like with Zcash that's why they did quote unquote privacy season, because they realized that they need to they need to not actually trash Monero. They're going to lose respect. All right, yet I digress. We're here to talk about price, and I'm trying to give you some technical analysis. Like we said, U.S. dollar price probably just going to chop sideways between, say, 290 and 400. We're probably looking at that for the next months to come. At some point, maybe the crypto market will bottom, and perhaps Monero can benefit from some of that liquidity. The XMR BTC price is experiencing just the ever so slightest, gentlest positive action, but positive it is. So you can see this little line I just drew down there, kind of an ad hoc line, but okay. And this isn't the best line that I've ever drawn, but we could maybe do something like that. This probably has a resemblance to a rising wedge. This, again, as we've said before, this has the feel of a ratio that wants to climb higher. Why it hasn't got there yet, I don't know. We have these weird oscillations that have been happening. And those oscillations for a period of time were getting stronger. And even if there's some some force out there trying to keep the Monero price down, my theory now is that you've got Bitmain involved, whether or not they're able to really make a profit on their miners or not. And that includes, they've had to do a lot of development costs. They had to develop the RISC-V architecture. They had to, build this stuff. And all that investment, all that design and development, that costs something, right? So yes, they're mining at 30% better efficiency. Maybe it's more than that until the hard fork comes. But yes, they're mining at a greater efficiency, but have they recouped their costs and development? I don't know, right? That's on their internal books. We would have to ask them. It'd be an interesting question to ask those guys if they ever, they might not want to tell us, right? They're probably going to hold those numbers pretty close to the vest, and maybe there's not even a reason to expect they would tell us the truth, even if they told us a number. Anyways, that's kind of like, I think that's a negative price pressure that Monero is going to continue to experience for some time, is the fact that Bitmain is now mining, and they do have miners. And that's probably one of the ways that they were able to cover for their Binance fractional reserve over the course of a couple of years, which is why they kept shutting down withdrawals, right? We know they made a deal with NiceHash, where NiceHash shut down their withdrawals, and it seemed like they made some kind of shady deal with Binance where they were supplying them with coins, probably at over the market rate. So it seems to me like, these guys, the cabal, we always call it that, but the crypto corporate cabal, I really strongly suspect that in the background, these guys paid a higher price, to sort of suppress, like they actually had to pay to keep Monero's price somewhat suppressed. Yeah, it's a conspiracy theory. Hate me if you want, but it's, from everything I've seen, that's just how they operate. So anyways, this chart does look positive to me. Like, this looks like a chart that wants to keep going up. Maybe we're kind of fighting some miners out there that are trying to sell. And, maybe it's the botnets. Maybe the botnets need some more money for some more equipment. I don't know. I'm just kind of playing around. Let's go to a shorter time frame, though. Let's see if we can tease anything out of the shorter time frame wave magic, if it will load.
Hey, there's a question for you, Bawdy.
What's up?
It's up on the XMR chat.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. Shadaloo Liberty Finance tipped 0.1 million. He said, I'd like to short BTC into the abyss courtesy of BIP 110. Your take, Bawdy. Where do we enter and what leverage? Full doom. Bro, I wouldn't personally be shorting Bitcoin at this level. Could it go down further? Sure. Perhaps it will go down further, but man, I wouldn't. We'll get to Bitcoin in a second, but I really, really would not be shorting Bitcoin with leverage right here. And if I did, there would need to be a really good pointed reason. Stuff like BIP 110, fundamental changes typically don't cause immediate price reactions, price movements. Usually fundamentals changes kind of, they play out over the course of, say, 1 to 10 years. You can leverage some of these changes for, buy the rumor, sell the news. Right. So, BIP 110 is going to get activated. Okay. It sounds like that. So then maybe the price will move a certain direction, but when it's actually released, then price will just renormalize to some level. So I haven't been paying too much attention to Bitcoin social arena. I know a lot of people hate BIP 110. I don't really have an opinion on it so much. I need to go check out what it's made of. Maybe it's a mixed bag. Maybe it's lopsided. I don't know. I'll try to look at that this week. I'm finally off of sort of a long-term vacation. I'm back home, so I can give you guys some better ideas and more close scrutiny of these kinds of things. Okay, we also have Quadrio Solata tip 0.1 XMR. He said, I saw some rumor that the X9 was discontinued and they aren't selling them. And then he Monero.forum says apparently Bitmain has discontinued X9 Monero miner. That would be interesting. I think we should maybe we shouldn't check that out on the price report specifically right now. Maybe we should though. You know what? Why not? We don't have a special guest, so I think we probably have some latitude to just play around a little bit here and look at a few things. Let's see. So the Monero forum. This was May 16th. Okay, that was about a month ago, two months ago. This message. Okay, so this is apparently a message from Bitmain. They're saying that that the Antminer X9 you ordered has been discontinued. The factory mentioned they may release a replacement model in the future, but the specs and pricing are unknown.
I have been so Bitmain attended Monerotopia, as I'm sure you're aware, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're continuing to develop. Yeah, so I guess they don't have the X9, but they're continuing to develop a Monero miner. Actually, taking into account what they learned at Monerotopia from the community is what they're currently.
I do wonder if they didn't quote unquote discontinue them, but if they maybe decided, no, we're not going to sell these. We actually need to mine more Monero because reasons, right? There could be multiple reasons for that, but maybe they decided that they need to keep mining Monero and they don't want to let these miners go just yet. Or maybe they're like, maybe the development of their follow-on miner has been somewhat delayed, and maybe they're trying to pivot on the basis, pivot their design on the basis of the upcoming hard fork. And so they don't want to get rid of the miners that they have right now. That's a possibility. We can only speculate as to what their corporate interests are for that. But do you have any other thoughts, Doug?
I just know that they're developing a Monero miner. Based on what they learned from the community at Monerotopia. So they got feedback, right, that basically Monero has their concerns, that there'll be some ASIC that is whatever, 1,000 times, 10,000 times better than a typical CPU. So they are trying to take these concerns into account with coming up with something that they feel would be a tool, a device that people in the Monero community would want to purchase and use without fear that it could become a monopoly in the space. So I know that's what they're actively trying to do.
Okay.
So, because I've been talking to the guy that came to Monerotopia. And so my point of view is, I don't know. I know Bitmain has this shady, evil past when it comes to Bitcoin. But talking to the guy who's running project where they're trying to build a Monero miner, I mean, I don't really know what the scam or I don't really know what they're looking to do. That's going to be. I think that they just they see Monero as one of the largest proof of work cryptos, and they're in the business of selling hardware for mining proof of work coins, and they want to be part of the Monero story and sell equipment to Monero people. I think it's as simple as that, to be honest. But
yeah, I think there's, especially in a corporation, you have a bunch of different faces and flavors, and maybe their Monero division is fairly honest, even if perhaps other parts of their company are less than honest, given some of the things they did to their previous Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And I think the Monero community pretty firmly told them that Monero is not mined by corporates, so we don't have big ASIC farms mining. So if you're going to do it, you're going to have to sell to home miners, and those home miners are probably going to want to pay between 1 and 2 Monero, like 2 and 3 Monero for a miner, and no more.
Exactly.
So they have to take that into account.
That's what so that's what they're trying to develop.
I mean, you have to keep in mind as well. If you remember Howard Chu, this was like a couple years ago. He was on the show and he was saying, "Listen, I can show you the signature of where Bitmain, the miner that they had developed, that these guys occupied, I think it was like 10% of the hash power for like a year and a half, 2 years running." And that was during the time that we were seeing all the Binance and the other exchanges shut down their Monero withdrawals, the whole fractional reserve problem. So we know that Bitmain was mining through that entire, all of those episodes. So they were like suppressing the price and helping, almost certainly helping those exchanges to cover for their Monero shortfalls. While trying to keep the price as low as possible. So I personally, I mean, I hear what you're saying. And I don't think that everyone, in Bitmain is like a bad person by any means. But I do remember that as a top level corporate strategy, you know, that seemed to be playing out. So
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think more to come on Bitmain as I'm talking to them, because I know they want to sell miners to the Monero community. So I guess we'll see what they come up with and if it's accepted. Right? Like it can't be that we ask these companies to be kind and not to create ASICs, right? It's got to be that Monero is built in such a way that an ASIC essentially can't be built.
Yeah.
Right? So
yeah, I mean, for better or worse, Bitmain is a big part of the market, right? And we have to understand their position there. We have to understand their interests. And obviously the devs have to understand the kind of tech that they can develop and the ways in which the protocol maybe needs to be tweaked. And of course, Tevador, you know, and those guys, they're already, you know, they've already done a pivot. They already have a really good idea of exactly what they're going to do. And the hard fork, I think that's even done. Like, I think that's, I don't think there's, I think their developmental work on that regard is basically finished. There might be like a couple of little odds and ends, but
that's my understanding too.
Yeah. So like, you know, in a lot of ways, you know, there's kind of like two ways to look at it. There's a sort of like calling out shady behavior, calling out like sort of like raw corporate self-interest, but we can also do it in a neutral way that says, I mean, you know, they're doing it, I guess, legally, right? We can't cry about what a corporation is going to do. I mean, we can kind of cry because it was fraudulent what they did. And I think that there could have been, maybe the statute of limitations is expiring at some point, but there probably could have been lawsuits brought against Binance, Bitfinex, and these other guys, and you know, enough to at least get a discovery into what it is that they did, because somewhere in their corporate like logs and meeting minutes, I know that there's got to be something in there that makes it much more clear what they were doing. But no one in the Monero community is really that apt to go crying to the government to try and like punish some corporation. We're like, no, we just have to make our protocol better. That was the whole point from the beginning. You know, and these emails were. Go ahead, sorry.
I was going to say, you know, one of the biggest issues in Monero, if not arguably the biggest, is the amount of hash rate our network is producing, right? I mean, that's an attack vector. Seth brought it up at the meetup as probably being, somebody asked, like, one of the Bitcoiners asked, what do you see as Monero's weakest point? And I think it was the top thing he mentioned. You know, the fact that a nation state or whoever, if they want to, can potentially take over the Monero network with enough hash power. And so if we have people like Bitmain that are stepping in and the result is that we get more hash power, that's a good thing, right? We need more hash power. So
yeah, I think that's mediated more by price than anything, to be honest. Like when we see price go up, we see hash rate go up with it.
Yeah.
So,
but we need a growth, right? I mean, I'm sure you would agree, right? Like that's for us. We saw what happened with Cubic. Obviously, that was a different type of attack, and hopefully, we've come up with solutions against that will be implemented. But just in general, we need more hash power.
Yeah, I think that's definitely true. It's not like it is one of the weaker points at the moment. I don't think it's like hugely, horribly concerning, but it is somewhat concerning. The reason is that like corporations and nation states, if they decided to go do that, it's pretty obvious and apparent what they're doing. And that they probably end up running into a lot of legal issues if they maliciously attack a network. And there would probably there could be enough interest at that point for someone or some people in Monero to actually go sue them over that. And they kind of know that too. It also like it works against their social agenda. They want to just keep Monero marginalized as much as possible. And that's what we've seen consistently. They just stop mentioning us. They try to like take the attention away. But yeah, it's just better to be beyond that kind of attack by, you know, having a 5x or a 10x in the hash power, which would come if price performs. If we get to say $2,000 Monero, we're going to see a much higher hash rate.
Exactly.
But yeah, the XMR BTC chart. So we're looking at the 2-hour right here now, and I don't think I'm seeing anything in this chart that's more revealing than what we saw in the daily candles. Again, we still have this kind of uptrend. It's very clear, sort of upward drift. Our lows continue to get higher. The highs continue to get higher. we're still in, we're still kind of locked into this sort of like range here, say like 0.0055 to about 0.0047. Again, and relative to Bitcoin's price. So right now, I'm not seeing anything that says, hey, it's clear time for the time for the rocket to launch. Everyone get on train. We're not seeing anything that's like super duper bullish right here, but again, it's still mildly positive. So that's fine. That's good enough for me. Bitcoin is still in sort of dark, murky areas, dark territory, which we'll get to in a second. But yeah, I would have expected and hoped for more on the ratio here, but I guess we're just not going to get that quite yet. But I would probably expect this to continue drifting higher. Don't be surprised if in the next, like, I don't know, say 1 to 3, 4 weeks, we end up at the top of these blue bands here, which would put us about 0.0055. So that's a little over 0.5% of Bitcoin's price. Let's see the rest of these charts. Nothing too exciting. Monero versus gold. I told you guys, months ago to expect this chart just to continue ranging. But we also have kind of a similar deal here where XMR versus gold also has these sort of higher lows. So it's also has kind of a mildly bullish, mildly positive action. We could probably draw this line right here, and we would say that we're kind of in this. I wouldn't call this a pennant, but it's sort of just a compressing volatility triangle action. Let me see if we can extend that line. Kind of, sort of. We can kind of, sort of extend that line. So again, but this is a very long-term chart. We're looking at the weekly chart, so this ranging action could continue easily for another year before it like actually breaks to one side or the other. It could break, it could break in the next 6 months. Who knows? These charts, you don't have to wait till the end of the triangle for the thing to break out. And on rare occasions, you actually see where the price doesn't even care. You're like, it's like, I don't care about your stupid TA. I'm just going to keep going sideways anyways, even though I'm at the end of some sort of like allegedly compressing volatility action. So anyways, yeah, not too much interesting there in the Monero versus gold, except for, again, we have now clearly established that Monero does seem to have some mild positive action over really the last couple of years, right? Higher lows against gold, and kind of a similar setup here against XMR BTC, but nothing that has to sort of play out immediately, but something that could. Okay, let's take a look. We'll come back to the privacy shitcoins. Let's go ahead and take a look at Bitcoin. You'll notice we have actually touched. So this green line is my sort of original lower boundary of the Bitcoin price using standard regression analysis tools. Now that I'm back home and I have sort of my standard tooling available to me, I will almost certainly spend some time this week recalculating this green line with an added independent variable that is, when does the chart start? When you start dealing with logarithms, which is what you have to do, you have to take the logarithm of both time and price so that you can do a linear regression. But in doing so, you end up with this weird question of, well, where should I start the date of the chart? And so because of that, that actually becomes its own independent variable. And that's why I keep telling you guys, I'm not super duper confident of this green line. It's probably within 10%. But maybe this line is even lower than I thought, actually. So I'll have to recalculate that. I'll probably do that this week, or I don't know, maybe next week. I got a lot of stuff to do. Finally off of vacation, right? So now I can get back to work. Oh, so sad. Anyways, yeah. So Bitcoin did hit the did finally touch the green line fully. Let's go down to the 4 hour. Again, this chart does not look very good. No one wants to see a chart that looks like it bottomed and like it was gonna, it was gonna come back, and then right at the moment it's supposed to break out, just utterly fails and then makes a new low. And the one thing that might be might be developing in this chart is we are now looking at kind of a downward wedge, right? So this downward wedge could continue to see lower lows, and this might actually signal the sort of an entrance into a final bottoming pattern. And that would be great. That would almost be right on time. If this pattern continues to play out, and this is kind of, it's a little bit early to draw these lines the way that I've drawn them, right? Normally you would want to wait just a little bit longer before you draw lines like this. You know what? This is kind of messy. Let me turn off some lines here. We probably don't need the moving averages. We probably don't need the purple lines. All right, there we go. And remember, the red lines are sort of an acceleration metric. They're the moving standard deviation of the moving standard deviation. Some people would call it volatility of volatility, although that's technically a different thing. but the concept is very similar. So yeah, it wouldn't be unsurprising at all if we continue to see Bitcoin range going into August along this kind of like downward trajectory. And it might even give us like a fake out, right? Maybe somewhere early August, maybe Bitcoin even does some like crazy like wick fake out, and then that would like maybe that would be the low down there. Very speculative, right? Don't take my little squiggly lines too far. I'm just giving you some ideas of how this chart might play out and the way these patterns typically play out, right? We're talking TAT leaves here. The other thing, TAT leaves, we are looking at the lower standard deviations. We are now looking at this kind of channel. Bitcoin is very clearly below this this longer term lower standard deviation bands now, right? You can see these orange lines right here again. And this is classic bear market action, right? This is classic potential further downside. The downside can't be said to be done until Bitcoin like establishes somewhere here around 70,000 for some period of time, like gets up there and stays up there. So thus far, any attempts to generate a bottom or generate excitement or get plebs back into the market has failed. So I think everyone kind of intuitively knows at this point that stocks have been the high performers here. And I think everyone's a little bit dejected on crypto. I think a lot of people just don't care anymore. There will be liquidity flow back into crypto at some point, right? There'll be another moment for some gains, but I don't think that moment is necessarily right now. I would still be pretty worried about further downside. If this pattern continues to play out, that comment by Shadowloo Liberty Finance that we got on the XMR chats, you could probably short Bitcoin, maybe, but I would, I would only do, if you were going to short it here, I would only do very short-term trades, right? I would be like, okay, short it with some leverage and then get the hell out, right? If you make profit, take that profit. I wouldn't expect this thing to just crash and burn out of nowhere. Like this thing is probably not crashing and burning to like 40,000 overnight, unless like some weird, crazy event happens where like the chain fails or whatever. But all right, so that's Bitcoin. That's what it looks like to me. Let's go to just take a look at the shit coins, the altcoins. Somehow Sol is quote unquote performing. I don't know how they're doing that, but everything has come back ever so slightly. This looks like stronger movements than they really are because crypto has been largely sideways for a period of time. So the volatility is low. So small movements can make the Z scores. Now that you have an established like period of low volatility, the Z scores are actually much more, how would you call them, compressed. You're going to have to watch a Z scores video on YouTube if you really want to understand that. But the movements on the Z scores are going to look more pronounced for smaller amounts of price movements because of the low volatility. Anyways, Sol pumping relatively higher than everyone else. XMR sort of still kind of at the top of the pack, overall performing to its own price history better than the rest of the coins. All right, I guess everything's still kind of clustered together there. Dominance, crypto, Bitcoin dominance. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I would like to say that this is it. This is a bearish chart, and it's it's going to fall, and we're going to see some altcoin performance, and maybe we will, maybe that could happen. But right now, this is a very clear chart for really almost an entire year now of basically just sideways chop between 57 and 61%. So there's not really any reason to think that this chart, that any fundamental conditions or sociological conditions have changed in the market that would make this chart go one way or another. Nevertheless, the cabal does like to pull interesting, the market makers, the liquidity providers, they do like to do the little pump and dumps and choose coins here and there and move money from one to the other back and forth. So that could happen, I guess. Who knows? I don't have like a really good mechanism for telling you when this chart might break towards the bottom or towards the upside. So that's a whole lot of words to say. I don't know. Anyways, that's what that chart looks like, at least for anyone that cares to look at it. And then total 2 also does not look very good. This is all the total market cap excluding Bitcoin, right? So Ethereum all the way down. Also not looking like the best chart in the world, looking kind of bearish to me. Honestly, like looking at this chart, it would not be surprising if some kind of like crazy washout happens against altcoins where they fall like another 200 billion. So that would, from the bottom there, that would currently look like maybe another 25% down. I don't know if I want to say that for sure because charts don't have to, they don't have to obey this wave magic, but currently that's kind of what this looks like. You've got the moving averages here, which is the white clusters. Price has been sort of bottoming out on these moving averages, but it keeps bottoming out. And now it's even kind of like a little bit lower. So this looks like a chart that's like trying to survive, trying to tread water, and kind of slowly failing to do so, at which point you're going to need a washout. So that could be another 25 to 30% down for total two before the end of the bull market, bear market. Especially if Bitcoin underperforms what even, there's no reason Bitcoin has to like follow these lines. If Bitcoin does actually fall to 50,000 and does have some crazy washout to 50,000, how far down would that be? Yeah, that's 20%. So total two would fall, right in line with what you would expect it to. Okay, let's go to the privacy shitcoins and see what we got going on. Let's see. If BTC fall, Foxquate says if BTC fall 25%, it means altcoins fall 200%. Yeah, some of them will fall 200%. They'll get divided in half, a lot of them. Some of them might not do as bad, probably Monero. Maybe we'll have some wick down, but I don't believe those wicks. And if you can catch them, those are good ways to buy more Monero and top up your bags. Our price is definitely more stable and more supported organically than the rest of these shit coins. Okay, yeah, so here's Xano. Hasn't really done much, just still kind of chopping sideways. This chart's starting to feel a little bit bearish, if I'm being honest. That's just kind of my feels looking at this chart. I'm not totally liking it. But this chart has had a level of, erratic behavior. So maybe this could just go up. Maybe if Xano comes on the show and they can generate some excitement, this chart does feel like something that, probably does want to sort of revisit this lower level at about 8.5. That's all the speculation I could give there. Not really sure. Firo also not doing so great. Again, we've talked about this for quite some time, but they have a chart that kind of looks like a slow motion Tari, where they're just kind of like continually going lower over and over and over again with these sort of occasional spikes where you can sometimes catch some really big move towards the upside. I don't think I see anything here like why that would happen. There was a reason. There was sort of the privacy narrative, the privacy season narrative that happened at the end of last year. Xano spiked with it, and it made incredible gains, right? You could have made almost a 10x there buying Xano at just the right time. It's hard to buy these things at just the right time, but probably you could have, if you're a trader, you really probably could have leveraged the privacy season and the all the hype, right? You could have probably leveraged that into a trade there. Pirate Chain doing nothing. Don't expect this coin to do anything. Sometimes it does stuff. It does seem to have this kind of like long-term sort of uptrend. So maybe there's some hope here for Pirate Chain, but if it breaks down back to like the 0.15 level, 15 cents, this line that I just drew would become invalidated. And more than anything, what we've seen from Pirate Chain is just like sideways chop between, say, like 13 cents and 35 cents. And the only times that it really pumps always seem to be correlated to Zcash pumping or to like privacy season narratives, right? We almost never see Pirate Chain making its own independent moves, like generating its own gravity. We just don't see Pirate Chain doing that. It's sort of orbiting around Monero and Zcash and privacy, but without really doing anything on its own. That's just kind of like, again, that's just like how that feels. We already covered Tari. Cubic isn't doing anything. I guess for the past week, they're like sort of stabilizing, but again, this chart, if they can't manage to pull anything off with Doge sometime, like, I don't know, after the bottom of the bear market, give them like another year or two. If they can't manage to pull anything off with Dogecoin, then don't expect that these guys their coin will just die forever. There'll be another forever death coin. Sure, they'll have some pumps here and there, but all right. And Zcash making a little bit of a comeback this week, maybe about 20%. This coin has a lot of volatility, so it's not unsurprising to see it make these kinds of comebacks. This wick down here immediately coming back up. I mean, that was an extremely severe ponage that happened to them. So to believe that they just somehow magically recovered all of a sudden, like, again, I just don't believe this chart. It's just bullshit. We've talked about it over and over again. Expect that to continue to be the case. I really do believe they're willing to spend money to try and keep Monero's price down, to try and distract people away from Monero. They're willing to spend money. So they might even be losing money on Zcash, propping up the price for all we know. But it does seem like the past has shown that they are willing to spend money to keep Monero suppressed. So, all right, that's probably enough about crypto. Let's take a look at the macro. Probably we don't need to talk too much about the macro. We'll start with the dollar index because dollar index does seem to be driving a lot of what we're seeing in general. For the past few weeks, it's gone up 4.5%, which sounds like nothing, but for a currency and for an index like the ODYSEE, that is actually quite a lot. Right now, it does seem to be, it sort of surpassed this interim, maybe like kind of middle long-term level, the dotted line right here. It did seem to sort of surpass that, which also coincided with getting out of its sort of these standard deviation levels, right? It said, hey, we're actually going to start trending now. So far, this is looking like a bullish chart. That doesn't mean that it has to go up immediately right now. Currency indexes tend to move slow, except for like certain time frames, but we're not really in that kind of like market regime profile where currencies are going to be moving 20, 30%. We did see that a couple years ago, but that was for reasons that really aren't valid anymore. So probably, if this thing is going to be, if the dollar index is going to try and go higher to like say the 103 level, then you're going to want to see some kind of support developing around here. And you're going to want to see some spikes eventually towards the upside, some stabilization so that it can go again. All of the other times that we've talked about this chart over the months and years that we've done the show here, usually this chart has always moved slower than I thought it would. So it'd be like, oh, it looks like something's about to happen, and then nothing happens, right? So this chart has continuously or consistently moved a lot slower than I thought. So you just have to kind of take that for what it's worth. Understand that the trend does seem to be up, which is a little bit now of a negative headwind for both gold and stocks. So let's go over to the stock market. So stocks are right now, to me, stocks are just kind of like chopping sideways. There was a pretty big comeback, right? You can see that, okay, there's a little bit of a fall off back in March, and then stocks have moved up 34%. That's we're looking at the NASDAQ here, right? 34% in the course of just like a month and a half is an insane move for stocks. So what's happening here with this sort of this is more like consolidation, right? In fact, what we're looking at here is very likely a pennant. We could easily draw these lines. So anyone that's into pleb lines and drawing tea leaves and such, you could very clearly see that there's kind of some pennant action. Yeah, we could argue about the right way to draw these lines. Maybe that's the right way. Who knows? Doesn't matter. The point is that we're seeing compressing volatility, stabilizing at a new high, and eventually the more likely thing is for this chart to break towards the upside at some point. Probably not going to happen until, let's just say, August. I would expect that this chart is going to need to go sideways for at least another week, maybe two. But it does look like a compressing volatility situation. You can see that it's happening inside uptrending purple lines. This is stable. This is exactly the kind of stable action you want to see for a bullish market. You really don't want to see it get way too far advanced beyond these purple lines. You really want kind of a set of purple lines like we have here so that it can continue uptrending in those lines. Maybe a little bit of that, right? Stuff like that. The point is that on a technical sense, on a sort of standard deviations, wave magic analysis sense, this chart looks great. I think even on a fundamental sense about what we know about the world, the play is still stocks, guys. The play is still stocks, and that's going to make it harder for gold to perform because people are looking at this gold chart, getting nervous and saying, nah, you know what? I better rebalance into stocks. I've seen this before. Gold has big blow off, and then it just chops sideways and down for years to come. Meanwhile, the stock market puts on big gains, and I'm missing out. So the market sort of voluntarily goes the direction that maybe originally was an inorganic movement, an inorganic blow off top, and an inorganic downtrend. And again, with the ODYSEE having this slow sort of feeling like it wants to rise, this could spell problems for gold. I would like to believe that this is still a pennant. I would like to believe that, or sorry, not a pennant, kind of like a bull flag, like a descending wedge in a broader bullish market. I would like to believe that now with the alleged end of the Iranian war and the reopening of the Straits of Hormuz, I would like to think that capital now that went into energy and commodities will now redeploy back into gold. But thus far, this has not gone back into gold. I don't know if it's just gone into cash. Have people just gone into cash positions, or perhaps they have gone into bonds? Let's take a look at bonds. From what we've looked at previously, It does look like bonds are becoming slightly more valuable. You can see that there's a mild uptrend here for the past, really for the past like 6 months. An uptrend in the rates means that the bonds are generally getting more valuable. We can even see this in our Z-scores over here, where we track the various asset classes, right? So bonds are here in red. So I guess, actually, that's interesting. It doesn't look like they're getting more valuable. It looks like they're just kind of treading water. That's interesting. So, okay, maybe that's not a good theory then, right? Maybe it's not a good theory that money moved from oil into bonds. Maybe it just moved into cash, right? We're seeing the dollar index go up. So maybe people are acquiring cash positions right now and waiting to redeploy that capital. It could also be the case that a lot of these firms, a lot of the big boys, players out there, it could be the case that they also have what they feel is somewhat of an imbalance in their stock portfolio because of how much it's gone up, and they're afraid to allocate more money at the top, right? So maybe they're allocating cash positions in anticipation for like the next deployment, and maybe that deployment ends up being crypto. But overall, the point is, if that's all a little bit too much word cellism for you, that's too much speaking in verbosity. What I'm saying is that money has come out of commodities and energy, and I can't see anywhere else that it's gone. It hasn't gone into bonds, it hasn't gone into stocks, and it hasn't gone into crypto. I can only see that the Dixie has gone up, so it makes me think that it's gone into cash. So yeah, it seems like there's probably a cash accumulation happening right now, and eventually there will be a rotation of that cash into something else. We don't know what it is yet. Maybe everything, right? Maybe we're just staring at the everything bubble. So anyways, hopefully that context helps you to sort of form what you're seeing, what you think about the macro, and how you might play your positions. I think that probably, the dejected one here, we're not blood in the streets quite yet, but crypto is not far from blood in the streets, and that's when you want to buy. So it could very well be that we're going to see some accumulation into crypto since it's been unloved for so many months now. But again, it's gonna play out over the course of 1 to 2, 3, 4 months, right? That could take some time to play out. So just know that doesn't mean that the crypto gains are coming soon, but that does seem like how you want to position yourself, right? From what I'm looking at everything here, that does feel like how you want to position yourself. Maybe everyone here is already overexposed crypto, or maybe you're just overexposed Monero. Maybe it's impossible to be overexposed to Monero. All right, guys, I think, looking here for anything else new, I don't think there's all that much new. Yeah, balance sheet goes up. M2, oh, well, I think those are new numbers for the M2. Yeah, M2 money supply goes up. Of course it does. Everything always goes up all the time. Last word about oil, yeah, is that, okay, so it's sitting here at just under $70. Strategic reserves have to get refilled, so the oil price should find some support soon. As they continue to buy, to replenish their strategic reserves, the nations, etc. So that might be another thing to play if you're prone to playing in those markets. Bonds, like we said, nothing is happening here. It's stable. There's no reason to expect that there's a macro crash coming or on the horizon. So don't be sitting here. Don't be sitting here like waiting for the next crash and wasting your money sitting on the sidelines. Although it does seem like some people are accumulating cash positions right now, so maybe if smart money is doing that, maybe you should do that too. But yeah, I guess that's all I got, guys. There's nothing else here.
I have a question for you, Bawdy.
Yeah, what's up, man?
So recently I've heard in the news that the US M2 money supply increased the most in like May or June that it has in quite a long time. And with the Dixie going upwards, I'm wondering if they were to print some money, wouldn't that be slightly bearish or a headwind for the Dixie and push it downwards?
Not necessarily. So yeah, I mean, we can look at these numbers and see that the M2 has gone up. It does seem like that slope. The last two numbers were a little bit faster than previously. But you have to also understand these are delayed numbers, especially the M2 stock. So we can look at the Federal Reserve balance sheet, and they give us a weekly report on this, so we can see what, week by week, how that balance sheet is changing. But the M2 money supply, at least what I have on TradingView, and I've tried to find M2 weekly M2 money supply updates, and they exist, but they're all proprietary, and you have to pay a pretty penny for them. And I think you have to use like Bloomberg Terminal or something. So anyways, but the point is that, the M2 can go up, and that doesn't necessarily signal headwinds for the dollar index in sort of this like converse way, because the dollar index, remember, it's not an absolute value of the dollar. It's the value of the dollar relative to a basket of currencies, and it's basically the euro, the Canadian, the Aussie, Swiss, the pound, and something else. But it's like 60% euro. So it's it's just an index to other currencies who are also increasing their M2 almost certainly. Although I haven't looked at their M2s lately. But yeah, that doesn't necessarily mean that the Dixie has to be going down just because the M2 is going up.
Oh yeah, I guess it would depend on how fast they're printing relative to those other currencies.
Yeah. Oh, let's see. We have we have Pedantic Accountant, tipped 0.1 Monero. He says, if bond rates go up, that means price is going down. So it's not surprising to see the Z-scores weak. You know what? That's right. That's right. Somehow I got that backwards. Thank you, Pedantic Accountant. Somehow my mind was reversed on that. Yeah, that's exactly right. So the mechanism, I think we've talked about this before, but it doesn't hurt to explain it again. So if you're able to have, if a lot of people are purchasing your bonds, then you don't want to pay them a high interest rate. You want to pay people the lowest interest rate that you can if you're selling bonds. If everyone wants your bonds, you can start lowering your interest rate and not give them as attractive rate anymore. And they're still coming to buy your bonds, right? There's a lot of demand. But if nobody wants your bonds, then you have to start pushing your rates up slightly to entice people to come purchase them. So yeah, I somehow had that backwards in my head. But anyways, yeah, bond rates have been going up here for a period of time, which I guess means no one really wants bonds. That kind of makes sense though, because money has been moving into the stock market. So I really, by the way, guys, I really appreciate it when y'all get on the chat here and you correct me when I like misspeak something or like for whatever reason brain fritzed for a moment. That's really good because I actually make those little mistakes quite often. So I appreciate that very much. Quadri Salata said, thoughts on XMR Gold on log scale. Yeah, let's go take a look at the log scale. I thought it was on log scale. Yeah, we are on log scale. Logarithmic. Yeah, so I think I gave you my thoughts there already. Everything I said earlier still applies because we are looking at the log scale here. All right, I think that's it. Actually, we got Frank Rogowski 9595. No, actually, I think those numbers, they're just adding to people's names now for whatever reason on YouTube. Anyways, on YouTube, Frank Rogowski says that if the economy was healthy, crypto would be thriving. M2 extreme, AI spend, everything else is trending sideways or downward. SHGE in Dubai start physical gold exchange next week. Oh, that's interesting. So Shanghai, that's a Shanghai. And I thought Shanghai was already doing a physical exchange there. I thought you could already settle physical. That's an interesting thing. Maybe I should make a note about that. Where can I put this note that I'll remember? Probably forget. SHG in Dubai, gold, physical. I need to look that up this week. Okay, I think that's actually it. I think we've got all the comments. Unless we have other questions here that I missed, I really don't. Oh, wait, hang on. Hash rate is still flat, basically looking at about 5.5 gigas. That's fine. Transactions, I guess still doing the same thing as they've always done. Oscillating between 20 and 30,000. Let's take a look at a little bit longer time frame. Still has this very mild higher lows, consistently seems to be higher lows. Still not enough for my taste, but I don't know. I don't know what the deal is there, why that's just flat. It feels like more people are using Monero. So I don't think any of us have a great explanation for this other than the exchanges, when they delisted Monero, the exchanges perhaps accounted for a significant amount of that transaction volume. And we've sort of had to recover and backfill the transaction volume that was happening on exchanges, is now just like peer-to-peer and let's just say DEXs now. Okay, with that actually is everything that I have to say about that. So hand it back to Doug. Maybe get the news going with Tony. Bueller.
The Monerotopia Weekly News segment is sponsored by WizardSwap.io, a non-custodial cryptocurrency exchange.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
Tony,
How you guys doing?
Hello.
Good afternoon there, Tony.
Hello.
Long
How you
time no
guys doing?
Tony.
I know, man. It's just because I'm working all the weekends now, so I finally get a weekend off. So yeah, so I can actually do the show. But how you guys doing?
Doing all right. Can't complain. Yourself?
Nice, good. Yeah, I'm doing good.
Tony, Tony, I'm here.
Hey, nice. Hey, Doug.
How's it going, man?
Good. I'm doing good. So I saw you got the car. Actually, I just saw it right now. I just saw your
Yes,
post.
yes.
You got the-
It's registered. It's on the road.
It's illegal.
It's
Registered?
legal.
What? So disappointed.
Dude, in New York, like as soon as it touched like New York City soil, it was like whoop whoop. Like, I mean, you couldn't even park the thing anywhere for like more than 2 minutes because it didn't have plates on it. I mean,
Ooh.
everything is like on lockdown in New York. It's ridiculous. But yeah, I got to register. Took it to the DMV. I had to get it insured before I was able to drive it over there. And it was all a pretty smooth process. And I mean, knock on wood, the car's great.
Okay.
It fills the needs.
Okay.
I do hear the tranny slipping a little bit, but that was known. So hopefully that lasts me some time. Air conditioning wasn't working, but I charged up the air conditioning at my local shop. Took them like an hour or so. They fixed the air conditioning because it's a freaking heat wave over here. So the first day I was driving around with no air conditioning in the car, but I was still loving it. I was like, it's my Monero car. Just blasting
It was
Very
rolling with the
European
windows
of you.
down.
Yeah, they're like, why is this guy so happy to be in a 2013 GMC?
They don't know what it's been through.
I love it though. It's got the sunroof. It's got 2 sunroofs because the car's so large. Those work. Oh, my phone was able to. I was easily able to play music via Bluetooth, so that was working. So yeah, I'm a happy man.
Yeah. So as a background to everybody, so I think Doug, I checked out the car. I think it was like November last year,
Mm-hmm.
and
It was a long time ago.
Yeah, a long time ago. So we met the guy because he found the car on XMR Bazaar. So I met the guy. Very cool guy, very much to Monero and everything. And then we took the car for an inspection, all this stuff. And I said, yeah, just a few things. And then he drove the car where I live. And it's been the mechanic shop, I think, since until May or something.
Yeah, it was a combination of things. It wasn't high on my priority list to get the car up here. So I was focused on other things, and mechanic was taking their time. So I was like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, so I just let it linger. And then eventually they're like, yo, we got to get rid of this car that's at the mechanic shop. Like you paid all your bills, but what do you want us to do with it? I was like, oh, because I was gonna try to have somebody drive it up, and I was gonna pay them in Monero, but that didn't happen. I should have pushed that more, put that as a listing on XMR Bazaar and pushed it. But also I didn't want to put somebody in a situation where while they're driving it up, it breaks down, right? Because Tony, you were potentially considering it, and you had that concern as well, right? Like might have been quite the mission. So I was like, let me just get one of these professional services, and they were fantastic. It was only
how many days?
$100.
How much did it cost?
Like 1,500, 1,500 for the whole thing, door to door.
Okay. And
That's
how many days?
So about 5 Monero.
Yeah. Like I didn't pay that. I barely paid that much for the car. I mean, I paid like 4,000, like maybe 10 Monero at the time, 3,500 or something. So to ship it, it really wasn't that bad. It was really smooth. And the guys you're dealing with, you're like, wow, am I really going to trust these people to deliver my car? And sure enough, it gets there. And then the idea is I was supposed to pay cash upon delivery, but it ended up being that I wasn't even home when the guy was delivering it, so he was just going to leave it there. And so I actually had a moment where I was going to try to convince him to accept Monero. But it didn't happen, and I ended up having, so whatever. But I could totally see people like this using Monero though. This whole ecosystem of even just these car delivery guys, because they prefer cash. They prefer cash. They want to get paid cash. You know, in cash. They give you a cheaper price for cash. And yeah, it worked out. Car got delivered. I'm now driving. We'll see how long it will be on the road worthy. Hopefully, quite some time. I'll continue to put effort into it to maintain it. I was thinking even like it'd be cool to raise it a little bit and put like all-terrain tires on it. Fit out a little bit.
Big car, so
yeah, like I'll make it absurd. It will just be hilarious. Turn into like a monster truck.
Yeah, I was just gonna say the Monero monster truck, destroying everything in its path.
I don't know. Maybe I could find some Monero bro to pimp my ride. Maybe that would be a good XMR Bazaar listing. A pimp my ride, or make it off road. Make it like a end of the world car, right? Like a true Monero car. It could survive the apocalypse. Yeah, listen.
Like what the Cybertruck wanted to be.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
But yeah, no, it was great. And Tony, thank you, man. Thank you for helping to make it happen. Man. It worked. It was the transaction itself was super smooth. I mean, I responded to the listing. I obviously didn't know the guy, but we started to talk. He seemed reasonable. He showed me convincing proof that he actually was the owner of the car. He had the title and whatnot. So it was the same as buying a car on Craigslist. And the only difference is he wanted to be sent Monero, and I wanted to pay in Monero. And so practically speaking, I needed a way of giving him the digital cash, and he needed a way of giving me the title. And that's where Tony came in, and he was local. So he was essentially like the mediator in this process. And he went there, since I wasn't able to be there in person, face to face, so that the title was written over to me, and then I was, sent the Monero to the seller. And it worked, it was great. Just like buying a car with cash, no different. I bought a car with cash.
It felt quite magical because like I've seen and I've done transactions with Monero, buying small stuff, whatever. But we were in Home Depot, we were printing the title, and then that's when you pay them. And then just to see that you just bought a car and like the money just came through like that. Like he just sent a couple thousands of dollars in Monero just like that.
Yeah, it was literally a click of a button. I remember I was sitting in my other car, like on the side, parked in a parking space, and just did it. I was like talking to you guys on the phone. I was like, all right, sent.
And that was
and it wasn't Venmo. It was a bearer asset that went from me to him instantly. And then the title went from him to you instantly. It was beautiful, man. It was amazing. But I can't wait till we have I don't know if that's been, obviously I'm sure it's been discussed, but I don't know if there's any early traction versions of like titles on the blockchain, right? Obviously that's part of the promise of crypto at some point, right? Imagine you're buying a house with Monero. You're sending the person Monero, and they're sending you, the private key to proof of ownership of that house. Like, Jesus, we're gonna get there.
Yeah, it feels quite magical when you start to purchase bigger stuff. I can only imagine the people that sold a whole house for Bitcoin, or like how that feels, because it's just bigger transactions. And
yeah, I mean, a car's a pretty big deal. A car's a pretty granted, this is a cheap car, but shit, this could have been, a $300,000 car. Same thing, right? Next, it could be a boat. Somebody posted, like next, 5 years from now is a picture of like a yacht, right? Like, honestly, 5 years from now, I can see people doing that today, putting it up on XMR Bazaar. We have people put up helicopters, right? Some of these things are absurd, but these people really have these items and they're looking to sell them.
I was going to say there are helicopters on XMR Bazaar. I've seen them.
I mean, the whole plan with XMR Bazaar was to build a platform that literally I can use to live off of Monero, right? And so fulfilling that promise.
Yeah, and just just by seeing how things go. We're definitely gonna get to bigger items being sold, and it's also just magical to see the transaction fees, because like it was a couple bucks or like nothing to send that much money, and nobody said, whoa, is this, what are you doing? Like, let's block the transaction over here.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? You're from New York.
Where'd that money come from? Yeah.
Like, who are you?
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
No,
so yeah, very magical moment for sure.
Anybody who makes a transaction using Monero peer-to-peer like that, you experience that feeling. You're like, holy shit, that's incredible.
Yep.
And realizing that's completely private, right? So it's just stronger feeling even than when like sending your first Bitcoin transaction, because that was magical too. Obviously, you're like, holy shit, like we can use a bank, completely peer-to-peer. But this also, there's nothing then to go look up on the blockchain. So
yeah, just the fact that this car was bought, and there's absolutely like it was just me, Doug, and Rodrigo. Those were the only people at the time that knew that even happened.
Yeah,
nobody else.
Granted, I'm publishing the information here on Monerotopia.
Yeah, and
it will be a Monerotopia company car of sorts too. I'm sure I'll be using it for Monero things. Somebody said that I should take the GMC on the front.
XMR?
Yeah, man, put an XMR in like GMC style. That would be hilarious, actually.
That'll be funny.
So I might do that.
Get big Monerotopia decals for the doors.
Yeah. The Monero car.
The mural would have actually.
I mean, the Monero taxi makes sense, right? Pick people up for Monero to come into the airport.
That'll be sick. That'll be sick, actually.
Maybe make it like a car that you could just pay for with Monero, and it gives you access to just start driving the car. That'd be pretty wild. I mean, they have these services, right, where you just can start using cars. So why can't you do a Monero version of that, peer-to-peer?
Yeah, it's very cool and very big for just future projects. Like I was just thinking that the mural could have fit in this car.
Yeah.
Could have been 2 birds with 1 stone.
I don't know. That mural is freaking huge, though. But yeah, I think it would actually fit.
Yeah. So yeah, guys, this was the story of the car. So I guess now we're gonna get into the new section. We have a lot of stuff to talk about, a lot of cool stuff. So the first thing, I guess you guys might have seen Peter Schiff post about Monero and saying that Monero is better than Bitcoin, because he posted this on X that yesterday Joe Squaw claimed Bitcoin is money just like seashells once were, but seashells had non-monetary value before they became money. Of course, they were decorative, worn as jewelry, sewn into clothing, and used in rituals. They were commodity money like gold and just nothing like Bitcoin, but they become money at a time. And then we have an attorney right here, Oliver Cushing, say, I agree with you on a lot of things, Peter. Fan of both PMs and crypto for one reason, privacy. Thus, I think that there's potentially some utility for privacy coins like Monero. Interested to know what your thoughts on that are. And then he said that Monero is better than Bitcoin. So actually, I'm going to like this too. Yeah, so that's an awesome comment.
It's an incredible moment, actually.
Yes.
So if we're looking for like the point in time, historically, when things start to change for the narrative and Monero goes more mainstream, this is one of those points. We've been calling for it forever, right? We've been trying to get Peter Schiff to say the N word for a long time, and he has said it at different times. But now,
even I saw that, and I was on Noster.
Yeah, but he literally clearly said what we all wanted him to say, because he's been hinting at it for years before he even said the M word. Monero, he would just talk about, his basic argument for Bitcoin was that it has no utility, right? And then he would even say, if there was any utility, it would be that you can send it like cash, but on the internet. But he's like, it doesn't even work well as cash. So he'd always make that point. And yeah, he's no idiot. So what I love about this too, it's a way for him to completely redeem himself, right? Because he's always been looked at as the fool, right? Oh, you missed Bitcoin. You're the gold guy who had these beliefs in being anti-fiat before Bitcoiners even existed. And here came this invention that created something even better than gold, right? That wasn't fiat, it was money that the government can't control. And Peter, you sat on the sideline the whole time, even though you understood this idea before even Bitcoiners understood it. But if he now becomes a Monero guy, he'd be like, oh no, well, this one actually does make sense. And so like he would then be right all along the entire time. So like there's no reason for him not to become a super Monero bro at this point. It actually would make total sense.
I think in the future we gotta get him on the show. Like he'll be so awesome. And I remember if you guys been through that phase, like years ago, like COVID times, whatever. And then a lot of people got into crypto, and I used to be like a Bitcoin maxi. Probably a lot of people first became a Bitcoin maxi and then got into Monero. And I remember I used to listen, and probably many of you used to listen to Peter Schiff and argue with Anthony Scaramucci, that famous interview, talk about gold versus Bitcoin and all this stuff. And Peter just making very logical points now that we listen to it now. But back then, like, oh my, who's this gold guy? And he's not accepting Bitcoin, which is this new thing. And he's making all these stupid arguments, and everybody's making him into a fool into crypto space, and he's the fool of the whole space. But then you learn about Monero, and then the whole narrative just flips, and he becomes like that litmus test of just intelligence. And like, wow, he makes a lot of sense actually. Just like the way, like obviously he understands economy and how things work better than laser-eyed people that just learned about Bitcoin. Yeah, he's a whole narrative flip. It's very nice once you get on the other side and you get to read his stuff. So hopefully one day we'll actually get him on the show. And I did have, oh no, oh, I had a link. God damn it. Okay, so basically I had the link. Hold on, maybe it's here. Yes. Okay, good. Thank God. So actually, it's a good segue into this. I'm not gonna read all of this, but basically, this guy tells the story of just how people get introduced into first Bitcoin and crypto, and that's how it happens. And then some people get stuck on Bitcoin, some people evolve to Monero, but a lot of us actually, I think, learn about crypto this way. So I'm gonna read and skim a little bit through it because I think it's a nice post. So this one is from Adam Livingston, and he said, nobody warns you. That's the sick part. So nobody sits you down and says, hey, if you spend one weekend actually reading about money, you will lose the ability to enjoy anything for the rest of your life. Your brother-in-law just mentioned it at a barbecue. That's how it starts. Some guy holding a hot dog says, you should look into Bitcoin, man. And you laugh at him. You laugh at him. You make the tulip joke. You feel superior for 11 more days. And it's 2:47 a.m. in the morning, and you're on your fourth Sailor podcast, and your wife thinks you're having an affair. And that's actually a similar story to me. Like I was listening to Sailor, and like he's so prophetic, and I don't know, he makes you want to sell your car and like mortgage your house to get into this thing, and you're cheating on your entire worldview. Oh, you came into it to debunk it. That's the trap. Everyone comes in to debunk it. You wanted to find the flaw. Dunk on your brother-in-law. Go back on your Vanguard target date, found like a respectable adult. Instead, you found out what happened in 1971, and now you can't make eye contact with 401k. Because here's what actually happens. Bitcoin is cool and all, and you really learn about the dollar. Bitcoin is fine. Bitcoin is 21 million in a schedule. You understand it in an afternoon. The dollar takes months because every time you think you've hit the bottom of that thing, there's a trapdoor. The Fed just prints it, and they give you how much to the banks in 2008, and the banks did what with it. So he goes into, it's a nice actually story about just how most of us got into it. We probably got randomly introduced by someone. I got randomly introduced to Monero by a friend. He just said, yeah, I'm buying this thing called Monero. And I said, oh, cool. That's cool, privacy. And then you somehow get deeper if you're interested into this stuff, and then you get into Bitcoin, like, oh yeah, that's cool. But then you learn this stuff like 1971, the gold standard, they just monopoly money. Like, oh, that's pretty awful actually. So what is this thing? And then you have Sailor, prophesizing about it, talking about cybernets and all this stuff. all these
Been-
words.
Been there, done that. Except for me, it was Andreas Antonopoulos.
Oh, really? Oh, I listened to him too. Yeah, and everybody remembers his talk from like 2000 whatever. It was just him in an empty stage. Remember that one? And he's just talking about Bitcoin. Actually, true. Yeah, true. Also him. Yeah. So these two guys, that you just get deep into it. And then for me, I don't know. I forgot how mastering Monero came in front of me, and that's what we had at the time. And then you just read that and like, oh, wait a second, fungibility, and then you get deeper. But it's a nice story actually. And some people get stuck at Bitcoin, but some people go beyond it. Now MoneroKon talks. So MoneroKon just happened, and god damn it, I couldn't go this year, but hopefully next year I'll be able to go to more of these events. But yes, MoneroKon 6 talks. If you want to check them out, Orange Friend posted them on Reddit, and I'm gonna read all of them because they're all worth it. So Arctic Mine, Monero scaling and security, the price adaptive block size fee market. Then State of EVM XMR Atomic Swaps by HPS, Monerujo, Designing for Imaginary People by R. Andres and M2049R. Then the terminal is the app, Privacy's First Software over SSH by Irem Kuyuku. Mapping Spy Node Dominance, the Monero Peer-to-Peer Network by Yanis Psaras. A Study of Trust in Digital Distributed Services by Kirill Sharbinin. If I don't pronounce some names, I'm sorry. SLVR Bullets, Trade Line Verification for Bullet Proofs by Freeman Slaughter. Monero Republic and the Feature of Monero Scalability by Preland. The Praxeology of Privacy, Monero's Economic Argument by Max Hillebard. Then our own Bawdy gave a talk too. Selfish Mining Simulator. The Impact of AI on Crypto Anarchy by Pavel Luptak. How to Bring Crypto into Meat Space by Andy Fichte. Privacy in Monero and Lightning, What It Actually Is by Vasily Rochin. Permissionless by Robert Blinov. Lightning versus Monero by Super Testnet. Liquidity, Fragmentation in Non-Custodial XMR Markets by 4Arkal. Liberland, Sovereignty, Privacy and Governance Beyond the State by Vit Jedlicka. Monero off-ramps for the CBDC era, the carbon credit loophole by Martin Arnes, threat modeling, a state-sponsored attack by Aeon, basic swap mobile, Monero atomic swaps on a phone by Dr. Cap, Monero in the cyberpunk space and libertarian tradition by Mirosław Kaczmarczyk, and liberation travel, vote with your feet. So packed with sponsors and speakers and attendees. So really cool, and I recommend you guys check out these talks. Again, you can find it on Reddit. If the Orange Friend, they posted all this, so that's awesome. Then post by Faustone. He said I stopped to check by on the Samourai Wallet case, and honestly, to say I'm surprised would be an understatement. So here's the amount that's been raised so far. The phase 1 goal is 500,000, but only 212,000 has been raised, 42%. So he said for the Bitcoin community full of those fancy have fun, stay poor guys, this amount is a total disgrace, which is true. So if you want, you can actually support them with Monero. And in case you didn't know, so President Trump is now aware of the Samourai Wallet developers and has stated that he will be looking into a pardon. This is a rare opportunity to change the course of history, but we must keep the pressure on to ensure this gets across the finish line. So more than ever, we need you to sign this petition right here, get your friends and family to do the same, and if you can, of course, donate. And then you have the whole story right here, and then why it matters, and the pardon, and everything, and watch and share the story if you want to. So it's all in here. Now, I've seen this post by Elon Musk saying AI and robots will be able to do everything, resulting in universal high income, that work will be optional. Which, I don't know, the only thing, like it sounds, okay, personally, and a lot of people, I would say, like it sounds nice, you're at the beach for like 2 weeks and you have a margarita and blah, blah, but eventually you want to do something with your life. You want to have some meaning. So, you know, I don't think people will just stop working if they have like essentially free money. But if the government gives you just money like that, what if you say something, especially in the UK and all these countries, you say something and then you just don't get that money anymore? That's for sure going to happen. So I think this is like robots will take over stuff that are just can be automated, which is great in some remarks. And if you go shopping, it's kind of nice to actually talk to a human, not just scan with a robot. So we will lose human connection. Or the taxi drives. I really enjoy my taxi drives. You talk to the taxi driver, and they usually have funny stories, and they're nice people. So just having a car drive you, that's gonna be, I don't know. I'm not gonna like that personally, but yeah, I'm not a big fan of this universal high income because we know what's gonna happen. Basically, you'll be on a very tight leash. That's what's going to happen, unfortunately. So you better not mention Monero in the future, or you're gonna get some universal basic up your ass. Now, and WebWhite talked about flock cameras at the last event we had. Flock cameras basically they're all over the U.S. and they just scan your license plate and your car model and all this stuff as you drive. And I think I've seen somewhere online. I'm not sure if this is true, but they're putting like 1,000 a day. They're everywhere. And yeah, so these are people destroying flock cameras, as you can see right here, all over the place. So this is cool. I'm not inciting to violence. So don't say if the cops come that this guy from Monerotopia told me to go and destroy the flock cameras. But it's nice that people are not just standing by. But again, I'm not inciting to violence, but yeah, this stuff is just ridiculous. More surveillance, and then in China, it's insane. I mean, they just rapidly scan your car. If you park somewhere where you're not supposed to, somebody will pick up your car in 2 minutes and get towed. No worries. They've even done experiments which you just try to get lost in China and you can't. They'll be able to find you in like no time. You just cannot run away. So yeah. Now this one over quick. Trump says there's nothing wrong with family's crypto windfall. So the president reported at least 1.4 billion in crypto income for 2025. He said he was not aware that this was to the extent of these holdings. He was not aware that it's illegal or anything. His sons are taking care of it. He made 600 million off of the meme coin, the Trump coin, Melania, and the World Liberty Financial, and all this stuff. So do you guys really think that this? I don't think that this guy actually cares about crypto, but he caught on the opportunity that if I'm pro crypto and all this stuff, we can make a lot of money. Because come on, like these guys have so much knowledge about just everything, He's in charge of the United States, so he for sure knows about privacy, Monero, and how important these things are. But he's not like he's screaming on top of his lungs that we should, implement more privacy and blah blah. No, he's just trying to pump his bags. And that's what I think, and probably what a lot of people think. So hearing the word crypto is kind of sickening. I don't like to say that I'm into crypto. I just like to say I'm into this thing called Monero, and that's it. Because now crypto has kind of like a negative connotation because of these things, pump and dumps, meme coins, whatever. Now, so the UK is trying to make its way onto the crypto scene and essentially want to become like a crypto hub, which is funny. So you have this framework called MiCA in Europe. They have their own called FCA, crypto framework. And essentially they want to make it so that the UK will become like a crypto hub and foreign stablecoins will be able to come into the United Kingdom and they'll be able to transact freely. But of course, the local jurisdictions within the UK have to approve all these transactions coming from outside, whatever. So that's what essentially they are working on. But it's very, very, we'll see how this is going to go for them because the current whole registration process with the FCA, this crypto framework in the UK, it's very demanding and the rejection rate is like 85% of the applications. So yeah, very curious to see how the UK is going to implement this whole crypto thing. Obviously, you're not gonna have much privacy, as Keir Starmer said, I think a couple months ago, that we're gonna implement this digital ID, and you won't be able to do absolutely anything but breathe, unless you get this digital ID. You can't work, you can't travel, you can't do anything. And he also just resigned, by the way. I think this was like a couple of weeks ago, something. Yeah. So he did just resign as well, which is interesting. We'll see how that's going to carry on. But yeah, that video was insane. Him saying that, and I repeat, you will not be able to work in the United Kingdom if you don't have a digital ID. You also can't you can't go to hospitals, or you essentially can't do anything. We should like a chart next time of the whole digital ID. Let me see if I can find it over quick. Actually, if I just type UK digital ID, if I
I don't know if you
can.
I don't know if you saw it, Tony, and you might have it in the news, but apparently there was also something in Germany where if you are a right-wing person, or if you believe what they call "quote unquote" conspiracy theories, they can reject your ability to buy a house.
Ooh, really? What?
Yeah, I just saw that. I think it was this morning.
Could bar. Oh, okay. Oh, but this is from April. Oh, I don't know. I have to look into this, but that's interesting. Could bar AFD politicians from buying property. This is like from April. I don't know. I gotta look into this, but that's interesting. Yeah, but Germany and the UK, they're very dystopian. Like they're throwing people in jail over stuff they said online. Both countries. So they're both going down. Yeah, so then we have this post on our Lord and Savior right here. So Strategy authorizes up to 1.25 billion in Bitcoin sales. So Strategy has authorized a Bitcoin monetization program that allows it to sell Bitcoin to fund its 2.5 billion USD reserve and cover preferred stock dividends. Also authorized 1 billion buyback programs for both its preferred securities and MSTR common stock, but it remains committed to Bitcoin as its primary treasury reserve asset. And then we have Vik responded to this saying that was actually wondering what's this cycle, Mt. Gox or FTX or Luna was going to be. This will be massive. So we'll see. I don't know how this guy sleeps at night with so much leverage and all these things he's doing. Now, so we have chain analysis. OFAC updated its sanctions against ICSK, adding 134 cryptocurrency wallets, 131 Tron, and 3 Monero as identifiers. And it makes no sense. So sanctioning a Monero address is the ultimate compliance LARP. Listing XMR wallets on an OFAC sheet proves that they still don't grasp how stealth addresses work. You cannot freeze an output. You can't even see on the ledger. So absolutely security feeder to keep transparent chain backholders compliant. And I forgot if it was a chain analysis guy or another one of these analysis companies that I talked to a couple of years at the hackathon in Miami, but they said at the time too that yeah, we can't do anything about Monero. we can't track it. So that's funny. And Poland is the only EU country without a MiCA licensing regime after its president vetoed the enabling legislation for the third time. I actually didn't have time to look into this, but that's interesting. So I'm wondering what they're gonna do for the crypto stage, because now every country wants to be on this CBDC crypto, digital economy stage. And I think that's it, actually. So what I wanted to say, and I am bringing the World Cup for this, just to make my point, but I think it's very, very beautiful how during this time the whole world just gets along-ish, kind of. and then they just drink beer and watch the game and cheers and so much emotions and everything. And I guess it turns out that maybe the politicians are the problem with all the hate. And I saw a quote somewhere that they said if you want to hate the world, then you watch the news, but if you want to love it, then you travel it. And I think that's pretty true. So I don't know. Let's hope for it's 4th of July. So if you're in the US, enjoy your day today, and have a good weekend, everybody. This was the news section, and let's hope that in the future, I don't know, we can all just have a beer. Or if you don't drink beer, have some mocktail or whatever, or water, and just enjoy, watch games. I don't know, have fun in life. Hopefully, I know the news section is kind of like a mix of depressing and positive stuff. But yeah, we'll see how things are going to evolve. Yeah, I'll see you guys next time.
See you there, Tony. I know Mika, about Mika. On July 1st, Orange Friend posted something to their social media and said, today's July 1st and Mika takes effect in Europe, and you're not allowed to advertise a crypto to crypto exchange or a crypto to fiat exchange. And so I put up a post and said, this is me making an advertisement for Ritu Swap, where you can still purchase Monero with fiat in the European Union. And now I have broken the European law by telling you this. So I'm not allowed to. I can't go to Europe now because I broke their law. So I can't go to Europe. I can't go for a visit in Europe, and I can't fly with a European layover because otherwise I could be arrested.
I guess if you're going to like Germany or something in the future, or like even now.
I broke Mika.
You're a fugitive. Yeah, we need to do a show. People from Europe that can kind of give us the latest, how they think things are going to be affected over there. I mean, I guess it's already been affected, right? So I guess we shouldn't really see much of a change.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have someone on talk about Fika and Mika, FCA and Mika. Yeah.
Yeah, what how things are changing in terms of, from Monero's perspective. But I think it was already, right, beaten down. It was already delisted for most exchanges. So I don't really know how much worse things are going to get.
Yeah, I remember talking with Harry from NIM, and he said, and I think too, and we all think that in the next 2 years things will get kind of rough. So we got to really build this stuff fast because, yeah, he said it too. Like things are gonna get really hard to see privacy because you're gonna run into all these legal issues. Yeah, you can get jailed and whatever.
All right, man. Well, great job with the news today. Thanks for jumping on, Tony. We know you're busy.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. I appreciate it. Always good to be on.
And thanks again for all the help with the car, man. Greatly appreciate it.
Of course, man. Yeah. Always.
All right, yeah, we could go ahead and move it on. We could do viewers on stage, see if anybody wants to jump up. I think we got a last guy.
Before you do that, you need to run the guest segment just so we can get the sponsor thing.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking maybe viewers on stage, and we'll see if anybody we could make the special guest and see if anybody comes up.
Oh, okay.
All right, but let's go ahead and run it. Viewers on stage. Maybe HBS wants to jump up. Let's see, he's making comments.
Justice,
are you there?
I'm not sure if Justice is here because she didn't.
All right. Let's go ahead. I'll do it.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Oh no, wait, where's the new viewers on stage? Is this it?
The Monerotopia Viewers on Stage segment is sponsored by XMR.win, the first Monero-based prediction market. Privately and anonymously predict the future with Monero. No email required for sign-up and no KYC ever. Deposit any crypto to place wagers, but always get paid out in XMR.
Please gamble responsibly in accordance with the laws of your jurisdiction.
We got to have XMR.win jump up sometime soon. See what's happening. Latest there. I don't know if they've been adding a lot more different bets, whatnot. People are using it. I'm just curious, especially with the World Cup. That would be a good opportunity. All right, so let's see if anybody wants to jump up. We do have I do see Alaska chilling here. We got Bawdy, Seller Door, but he's not really connected. Guys, go ahead and I'll put the link if anybody else wants to come on up. HBS, can you jump up, man? I'd love to hear your take.
It's pretty cool that
the Europe
Mexico is hosting the World Cup, and they're now in the round of 16. That'd be cool if it was U.S. versus Mexico at the end. It's gonna be wild here in Mexico, man.
Oh yeah, that would be a scene. Oh my god. Yeah.
I'm almost kind of like sad. I sort of like missed out a little bit because I left just as the World Cup was about to start. You know, that's when I took off for MoneroKon and sort of a Euro vacation. So I kind of missed all the wild, you know.
Well, it's not over yet. No, you came in time.
You know what's funny is flying back. Everyone was trying to get to Mexico City, and they were like flying through my city, and nobody flies through my city to get to Mexico City. They do the opposite, right? You sometimes have to take a hop through Mexico City to get here. Mm-hmm. And I was like, where are you? You know, just chit chatting with the people around me. He's like, where are you headed? Like I was talking to this guy from Slovenia. He was like, oh, I'm headed to the World Cup. It's like, what are you doing going through this city? He's like, no. I have to get to Mexico City.
No, but didn't they have games playing there as well? Right?
Yeah, they did. I think they've had games all over Mexico, but the primary, like from here on out, I think the primary games are going to happen in Mexico City.
Okay. Yeah, because I know they had them in Guadalajara. We got a tip here. GitHub sucks. Tip 0.002x mark. GitHub has banned Rust Lightning developers. Really? We in Monero should move off GitHub and onto GitLab or something else. Is that true?
I believe Monero does actually have its own separate preservation maintenance repo. I don't remember what it's called. And I know that there's another guy that publishes into the Fediverse version of GitHub. I don't develop anywhere close to enough to know like what the process is for Monero, but I do know that the people who are working on Monero do maintain some kind of like backup to those kinds of situations. The problem is that if you're a developer, the speed and convenience that GitHub does offer it's unreal compared to any alternative that's available right now. So, but that's changing, especially since GitHub has had so many problems recently. I think that it probably won't be long before people start kind of like, I guess, breaking off their own niche Git repositories. So, and there's definitely been a very big interest in the developer community for doing that. So. I just still don't understand like why people would work on Lightning instead of Monero at this point. That's the thing that gets me like, wait, what?
I think it's one of these things that's like it's annoying, but it would be annoying for the developers, but I don't think it would be. I assume that that someone there has backed up the conversations and the issue tracker and all that. So I mean, yeah, you know, if Monero gets kicked off of GitHub, I think they could probably pivot pretty quickly to some other platform. But for now, like it's like not like they're worried about so many other things. To switch all that over right now would just be like kind of a distraction from the things they're doing.
I thought it was one hell of a compliment for that developer guy that came on the show the other day to basically say like he believed that some of the most talented developers in the world were working on Monero right now. And that's, I mean, when you spend time with them, like I'm not good enough to know just like the skill ceiling, like the gaps right at the top of the skill ceiling, like as far as people have been able to go. But I have noticed that every time you talk to anyone who's been working on developing for Monero, like you can just see the focus and the attention span when you're conversing with them. And I tend to agree, like they seem to be more focused and passionate than when you see other people talking about their projects.
We do need to pull in, I feel like, more developers though, right?
Absolutely. There's a shortage for sure of people like working in this particular space. And I'm sure you guys remember, like for the longest time, I was looking at alternative methods for Monero to meet the market where it's at as far as like paying talented people to work there. And I genuinely think that this is a situation where Monero needs to come up with something actually new. Because all of the ideas so far, it's like, oh, you know, anything from just bad ideas like a dev tax within the crypto. I mean, that's just like, that would make everything worse, in my opinion. And then you had like the magic money grants or whatever. The thing is it's so much red tape for smaller jobs. Because you have to comply with all of these rules and regulations for being like a 501.
Yeah. And it's not even the jobs. It's that it needs to just be consistent payment, right? It shouldn't have to be like you have to go get a grant to get paid. It should be like, you know, you're working for a company and you're getting your paycheck every 2 weeks for the next five years, right? Which is hard to do when it's a decentralized ecosystem and there is no company. So that is the issue that Monero's been struggling with.
But Doug, and I don't mind if you mind me speaking here. I think that what we need to give ourselves some credence towards is the fact that there's like, if the idea of money has been so central towards human progress and technological development and civilizational development, that when something comes to us so quickly during our own lifetimes, then it can be very difficult to see like, oh, we're behind, or so on and so forth. The idea of even just something that's decentralized money, like Bitcoin, even if it couldn't ultimately fulfill that task, the fact that it proved an idea that the banks didn't have to be the ones that controlled the pharaohs, and you know, like you need to build pyramids for people's gravestones. That doesn't need to be the central pillars of humans' existence. We could be so much better than that. And people saw the beauty in it when Bitcoin came out, but then it got tainted with greed and other power and other ideas that can twist your mind, right? So for us to be like, okay, we understand that, and we understand we came up with, maybe not us, all of us, certainly not me, 2014, coming up with stuff. You collect the people into the right place. You corral them into the right place, because we all know once the moment is there, we're ready to strike. And thank you, 4th of July, because we've seen the cameras in the UK, just like you were talking about before. They go nuts. And what do? They do nothing. What are they doing in China? They might fight back, but we'll never hear about it. In the US, you see people are giving some fight back. And I think that it's not just happening in the things that you're seeing online when people are doing criminal activities. I think it's actually happening in the local communities, displaced from federal decentralization and money that's been consolidated so powerfully that there's no difference between it and the government itself. So I think there's a lot of beauty in what's coming down to what's happening right now. What do you think? Is there room? How can we? And if that's going to be the case, I don't want this to be another Canadian trucker incident where we miss our moment. I want this to be a chance for us to win. So what are we missing right now?
I'll let Alaska respond to that. Actually, but before he does, before he does, let's go ahead and make or run our special guest segment. This will be for Bozo and Alaska. We can have them talk back and forth a little bit on this topic.
I'll share for sure.
Here we go. Here we go.
The Monerotopia guest segment is sponsored by Cake Wallet.
That's right. Cake Wallet, ladies and gentlemen. So I think that a lot of the things that people are pining for when it comes to why they want freedom currencies and so on, a lot of it isn't technical anymore. They're longing for back in the days of high trust society, or they're longing for the days of like a certain level of accountability that just doesn't exist anymore within their own communities. Over and over again, you find people thinking about how they, the whole in the woods thing, but then as soon as they think about, oh, I want to escape to the woods, then they start thinking about, but it would be nice to be in like one of those agrarian communities, right? And then they imagine how things used to be way back in the day when it came to the community that surrounds them. And yet, when I look out into the world, I don't see a lot of people trying to rebuild the trust part. I don't see a lot of people trying to rebuild the community part. I think the best decision that we ever made as a, let's say, like libertarian or anarchist community was when we decided to try to do the free state movement. So, hey, everybody who thinks this way, congregate, work together, try to make a change at a smaller scale. And it had quite a few successes if you think about it. I mean, New Hampshire is the place where like, silver bits is taking off, goldbacks are taking off, local level pro-liberty movements are taking off as a direct result of people congregating in one area and trying to do something about things on a larger scale. But one of the things that made the elements of this country that were so free was things like canning parties, things like church groups, you could call it like oneg or potlucks or whatever, mechanisms by which people got to build trust amongst each other and find out how they could help one another succeed at their own endeavors. I don't know that it's tech anymore. I don't know that what's missing right now is something that's solved with a technical solution. I think that it needs to be built on top of communities that can be stronger together, which seems kind of like the opposite of the hardcore anarchist Alaskan until you realize like you take the involuntary out of working together and it creates room for the working together to magnify each other's options. And that's something that I've been working on in my own life for many years now. I mean, Lord knows Bozo is well aware of I'm trying, bro. Like I'm trying to build, a more tight knit.
I see it. And I also see that you have a great strategy because people, as myself, were once young and naive to say that I want to change the world. But why don't you start at home first, then start your local? If you can do that, it can go further.
Exactly. And then, the thing is they always say like, escape velocity has been applied to everything, right? If we can reach, energy escape velocity where the renewables are producing X amount of energy, or they'll say like, if we can reach like deep space escape velocity or life expectancy escape velocity. But I think the place where it applies the most is actually quite simple, which is when a high trust society gets to a certain point where getting in and out of it is really easy. That's almost like your freedom escape velocity right there. Where if somebody decides, you guys remember the Asheville memes from way back in the day where you'd see some kind of horrible tyrannical thing in one side of the meme, and then on the other side, it's just like, fuck it, I'm moving to Asheville. It was the concept of I'm moving to a better society. I'm moving to a better culture. people are already at their breaking point where they would like to go to the, you know, the agrarian farm village, if that's their flavor, or the new urbanist, which, by the way, if anybody isn't aware of this concept of new urbanism, you should take a look at it. But the premise being, you know, if you have urban environments, they should be designed around what's good for people and what's good for people to live. And you really need to find a way where you can protect people's property rights while simultaneously like planning on a larger scale for quality of life. And you can see that this is where people's minds are already starting to wander with, you know, the Zoomers are now getting really, really into geoism, right? They're looking for some way to reorder society. And the powers that be have made it very clear that they want to destroy so they can rebuild the world that they want to live in. Now, Derek Bros often talks about this idea of like, instead of a great reset, it was like a positive version of it or whatever. Maybe you guys remember when he was talking about, if they're going to do a reset, we can at least reset it the way that we want it to be.
The people's reset.
Yeah, the people's reset. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. Yeah. And the thing is like, they've already torn everything down. And it's the one thing that the good guys and the bad guys can agree on is something's got to give. And the way it is now ain't working. Now, I wouldn't like to see everything torn down. I would like to see more of an orderly transition because people get hurt, you know? If you guys remember the Ron Paul rants about Social Security, of course, I want to get rid of Social Security. It's theft, it's evil, it's wrong, it needs to stop. But however you go about doing that, the last thing you want to do is punish the people who played the game by the rules and are counting on this to continue to exist. And then it's like, oh, this is socialist, walk away. There's a lot of people who are highly dependent on the system that the way it is, as broken as it is. You would certainly want to find a way to make your transition clean.
The most thing that most those people have is not really a complete and watertight ideology. It's just that the fact that they're saying, they're the kind of people that are going to say, well, this thing's so broken, I'm willing to try anything else. So let's do that. And the threat of that alone is even something that is powerful, even though I don't agree with it.
Yeah, and I'm sure you've noticed like the number of people ready to make drastic changes in the way that they live is exploding. And a lot of them don't even really know why everything sucks now. They just know it does. And
we do better than socialism. We can. We absolutely can do better than that. And I know you know this.
Yeah, and I think a big part of it is just starting small now, but finding a way to help your ambitions grow. You know, a lot of people like, oh, where do I start? What do I do? I mean, in this community, it's no longer like, where do I start, right? Most of the people listening to this podcast right now, they probably have a little gold. They probably have a little Monero. They're probably like trying to up their privacy game. They're probably dabbling in whatever. Almost every Monero person that I talk to has some kind of side hustle they're working on, right? Like this, they're ambitious people trying to escape. But my thing would be, you know, if you've already kind of got your own little house in order, and most of you have probably seen, like I try to advocate it here on the show. Alaska might not be your bag, right? You might be like, I don't like the cold. Well, this isn't for you, right? Or like, I don't like the rugged individualist lifestyle. Okay, this probably isn't for you. But there's someone somewhere out there that has something going for you. And you have to start by congregating. And how I can prove that this works, by the way, this is not me proselytizing how Jesus is absolutely empirically the ruler of this universe and he should be your king and your Lord and your master, although I happen to believe that. But the best example that I can come up with is people who are deeply Christian in their worldview are starting to gather in kind of those old school church villages now. And you can see them everywhere. Like there's a bunch of them popping up here in Alaska, but also Missouri or, you know, Nevada. There's lots and lots of people who, guys with means, had scooped up, whether it be land or a little church building or whatever, and other people that are interested in going to a more positive life environment. They're just packing up everything and headed to those places. But the thing is that's been going on for 7 or 8 years now that I know of on a large scale, and obviously much longer than that in a smaller scale. Those people are now realizing massive successes. You know, they now have a piece of land and some tractors that are producing wealth for themselves. But on the flip side, some of the old versions, I think it was called Twin Oaks, and everybody can consult with Chloe if they want to know more. But like some of the older hippie communes, like they're struggling. They're looking for new blood. So this is probably the time for people to grab onto, you know, things that have been successful for 50 years, like Twin Oaks. Pour some of your fresh blood into these endeavors if their philosophy aligns with yours, and make it happen. You know, like, but I mean, that's a rant.
So sorry, I don't want to interrupt you, but you're on such an excellent point that I'm just too enthralled. I gotta say, like, what you might be actually pointing out is the fact that there's a lot of people with a lot of roots that are ready they're more receptive now than they might have been before. Now that they realize the world's changed, if you come and give them a good answer, then they're much more amenable now than ever before. Wouldn't they be to making that change?
My son interrupted the crap out of me, and I missed like half of what you said, which sucks because I really wanted to hear it.
Okay, what I said was that now that times have changed, so situations changed, wouldn't they be more willing and able to entertain new ideas?
Well, of course. And then there's also kind of a generational thing going on where, like you said, things have changed and people are more open to it. But you could also this is the bright side of kind of what is effectively a really dark reality, which is like, I think we can all agree that Zoomers, as compared to the people that came before them, I mean, they are royally fucked. I mean, they have been, if the system stays the way that it is, like it is going to be really, really hard for Zoomers to climb out of the situation that they've been put in if things don't change, you know, like, and so you put those two things together, they're open to change. They don't like the things that the way they are. And now you could make a very good case like, hey, this could actually raise your quality of life and your standard of living pretty dramatically. I see them very open to, yeah, I'm willing to do something different with my life, you know?
I'm getting this now all the time. People are coming to me in flocks now, and I'm actually having to fend people off in some ways. And more than you know, things are happening very, very quickly. And I think that the world is going to change, and more than, I mean, you already know the world's going to change. Everybody does, but we want to change in our favor. So let's try more of that.
I'm trying to read this chat from Anon here. I want to make sure I read through it to the end before I read it on air, but let me see here.
Look, I'm, and here's a little confession: is I did a little, you know, something that might have been not, maybe unfavorable for once, and I tried to poke the bear. I tried to tell people, hey, we gotta get ready for our own success, and I did it in a way that just tried to call them out. But these people that I did it to were the devs, and they're used to adversarial tactics, and I'm not doing that. I'm trying to push them to the next level is what I'm trying to do. And I think that even, and I'm not just kidding, I will do what I was saying going to do. I will fork Monero. I think we should talk about forking Monero. But at the same time, I think that if we do so when we fail, it'll actually fund the original project.
Another thing about the idea of forking Monero is I wonder if it could possibly help with congestion should Monero and its forked competitor get to a certain volume of demand.
That's what they say about us. They say Monero is too decentralized, whereas we got Random X versus so it's like how dare you, right? How dare you say that towards people that are fans of towards that project? And I'm not like an entity. I'm not like my entity is not entwined with them. I'm sorry for saying it that way, but if you do go ideologically pure and you're trying to succeed, then that is an issue. That is right. And so we should try to figure out how do we get different teams going. And there's some, but there's too much incestuous kind of nature. And that I'm not trying to put Monero down. I'm trying to uplift Monero, because let's say that I find a way to get miners more money and devs more money when they work on a side project, a fork of Monero. Either that does so well that everyone just turns that way, as they do with every hard fork, or they revert to the first one and they've got some change in their pocket, which is good, so they can keep doing it instead of having to rely on more and more desperate factors to get devs to work on the project.
You might get one of those greedy devs to be like, this is my chance to make bank,
I would like, thing is that the idea of mining in general is that it's not a spiritual endeavor, it's a monetary financial thing. I think that Monero succeeds by having more than one of those things. It can succeed in two ways. You can it's what they call social entrepreneurship. You need to be financially solvable while also winning.
I wish Haven Racks would have launched today. There was rumors that it might make it on July 4th. That would have been so cool.
Well, the day's not over yet.
I don't know. It seemed
I'm not ready.
It definitely
There's also Kind Miner coming out, which is going to be awesome.
Yeah, that's something that this community desperately needs, is a better path forward for, people being able to participate in the mining. Cellar Door is asking. Hold on. Cellar Door is asking you, Bozo. You talking about a direct clone, or would you change some aspect of Monero?
I am thinking about changing, not things that are overall contentious about Monero. Like I'm not gonna change this to Zcash method. There's not gonna be any dev fee or anything like that. All I'm thinking about is like, maybe let's find a higher default tax of our app developers, and let's find a few different things that we can do. Yes, we have a non-devs, but let's try to make sure that there's no affiliation, or at least let's make sure there's a healthy, and when I say healthy, I mean winnable affiliation with the types of adversaries that actually are against Monero. And if they deflect that against someone else, someone like me, someone else, Monero still lives.
One of the best ways to protect your developers is to make sure it doesn't matter if you go after them.
The best way to protect your developers is to have more of them.
Yeah, I think I could agree with that, actually.
And for them to be anonymous. You can't attack what you don't know, and so the fact that we have anonymous developers is fantastic.
So,
and I would
don't make it so that the only people that can do it, because Silicon Valley, I have lived in Silicon Valley. They go there for two reasons. They go for capital and talent. If you have even one of those things, it's still a reason to go to Silicon Valley. And somehow Monero has done so well because there's such an energy behind this project that people are willing to spend their own free time. But it shouldn't have to be that way because not everybody can, even if they would like to, just work on Monero all the time, even if they're the most talented people in the world. So how do we change those dynamics?
I know I don't have an answer.
It takes pondering. And I think it's fair to say, like, this community is so far ahead of the curve. You know, like really trying to come up with practical solutions for philosophical problems that, I mean, kind of don't even exist yet, right? Like they're like on the horizon. And here we are trying to crack the code, you know? But I definitely think the solution to growing the circular economy further would be to congregate better. I think that that's one winning solution that I see no downsides, you know? People who think this way getting closer together physically and building their communities from the ground up physically. I think that that's a powerful platform to grow all of the rest of it.
There is so much brewing. And if we figure out how to align all of it, which I think is very possible, more possible. And I think it's so possible that I don't even want to say how possible it is because it's going to freak people out that have too much power. There's a lot that could happen, man. There's a lot that could happen.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but with the number of 4th of July parties going on right now, this weekend, maybe the proselytization that needs to happen right now needs to happen out there in the beautiful sunshine. Who's down? Let's make a Monero convert today.
Yeah, I say we go ahead and. What do you guys think about going ahead and ending it? It seems like we're not doing a whole lot, so.
Even versus this show, bro, it's fucking gorgeous out there. Like, I live in paradise and it's like peak gorgeous right now.
There you go. Douglas, are you around, brother?
I'm back. I think Alaska's got the right idea. Let's take it to the streets. It was a great show. Covered it all.
But for real, guys, take it to the streets. Like, let's see what we can do today. Let's tell the people today.
I'm on my way. I'm halfway out the door already. Did we get all these tips? I see Peter Schiff tips. Did we get that one? Did you guys talk about that? XMR mining crates. Yeah.
I don't think so.
No, I didn't read the tip talk.
Okay, we had Peter Schiff tip points. I get that XMR mining creates block costs and a floor price, but value to me lies in usage. That is why I criticize BTC as lacking a clear use case. I want to be part of XMR history and be convinced that T Gold can be better with XMR. Oh, this is Peter Schiff's. Yes. That's what Peter Schiff would surely say.
I actually did like a 1-hour phone call with a guy about how those bridges are inevitable.
With Peter Schiff?
Well, if not T Gold, which I think is probably the best candidate actually, but if not T Gold, something. I mean, look at, if you just check XMR Bazaar, right? Gold backs, gold coins, silver coins have become a very popular on and off ramp for Monero. And that's kind of the concept that I have in my head, where everybody keeps talking about how are we going to get into fiat? How are we going to get into fiat? And I'm saying, like, no, pass it, skip it. Go right through fiat and into gold. You need to build the bridge between gold and Monero, just like the existence between cocaine and Monero already exists, right? Where
Peter Schiff could be a key person in getting that off the ground, right? In a big way.
Exactly. Because T-Gold is never going to solve the problem of there's still going to be a custodian. And I don't think that's a problem. I think that that's part of the problem that exists with anything that dwells within the physical world. But Monero is always going to have a different problem, which is even if the blockchain is secure, and even if we get to the point where your hardware is actually like trustworthy, truly secure, electronics and devices are always going to have their own set of weaknesses, the same way that gold has to be stored somewhere. But the solution to those two problems is not try to find some technical solution to your problem so you can have the one currency that rules them all. I think that you need to use the two foundational currencies, Monero being the private digital cash and gold being sound money. You know, you need to bridge those two things, let them be good at what they're good at, and let one remedy the weaknesses of the other. You know, because you need an invading army to steal everybody's gold, or you need political willpower to steal everybody's gold, and it has to be jurisdictional. So that's the closest thing to a weakness that gold has. I don't think that it's much of a weakness, but it is still nonetheless a weakness that gold has. And with Monero, it's the same thing. We have technological issues with, for one, normie adoption. We've talked about that before, circular economy and so on. But assuming that those things are getting solved, and they are, then your next problem becomes, as Bawdy famously said, and I'm going to butcher it, but everything is insecure, everything is broken, and everything just barely works when it comes to technology. And I don't see that changing anytime soon. How many AI stories have we had about, like, you know, like the Zcash hack and so on? This is something that we're going to have to figure out. But at the same time, if there's a bridge on and off with gold, it solves the problem.
100. I think you and I just need to go to Puerto Rico and hang out Peter Schiff for a couple of days.
Time and place, bro. I'll be there.
Bigger nails tip 0.001 XMR. By far the most important thing about Monero is reducing the friction in real life transaction finalization is too slow. Even something like Cashew on Monero would be a massive improvement. There's definitely work to be done there.
I'm still pro to layer 2. Like, Monero definitely needs a layer 2.
I mean, yeah, there's work to be done there. We use it, we use it out in the open in the real world. You run into some issues. The biggest one, sync time. If you're using Monero enough, it's not an issue, right? You open your wallet, you're good to go. And there's going to be new solutions now with that. There's improvements with LWS that are going to be happening now because of these new view keys. So you're going to be able to create wallets where you can basically insta sync without a potential loss in privacy, where you're giving up your view key and you're worried that all your transactions are being traced on some server. That problem will go away, but with the advantage of being able to kind of instantly sync. So there's that. We got that coming. That's coming soon. With the implementation of full chain membership proofs and the new view keys. I'm pretty sure that's pretty close. LWS, I think they're making the changes on that need to be made on that end, so everything works. So that's within months, years, a year maybe. But yeah, there's always more that needs to be done there. Obviously, the issue of when you receive Monero for the first time, you can't just turn around and instantly spend it. You got to wait, right, for the 10 block lock or whatever it is, essentially 20 minutes. Really no solution, known solution in sight as far as I know, right? There's things we could do to kind of make the symptoms of the problem go away, with implementing technology in wallets, which we've already tried things. But yeah, that's something that needs to be worked on as well. So agreed, we need to fix the in real life transactions. But it's hopeful. There's solutions, right? And it's kind of a good problem to have, right? It means that so many people are trying to use Monero that we need it to work better. Right now, we have people that are willing to overcome some of the friction. I'm one of those people. All right, man. I think we leave it at this. Alaska, man, thank you so much for jumping up, carrying things as you do so well. Our other guests for today who bailed out, thank you as well. Always under a different name.
Gotta love Bozo. Gotta love the man.
Gotta love his energy.
We're lucky
right,
to
guys.
have you, bro.
We'll end it here. Happy 4th. Happy Independence Day, guys. Happy Independence Day.
All right, have a good one, guys.
All right. Adios. Let's play it out.
God bless you all.
Alrighty. Hold on.
Bye, guys.
Ciao.
Thank you for joining us on this week's Monerotopia episode. We stream live shows every Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern. You can find and subscribe to our show on YouTube, ODYSEE, Rumble, Twitch, iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Don't forget to follow us on X or join us in the Monerotopia Telegram group. See you all next week.